Call the meeting for order.
Shall I call the roll?
Yes.
Mr. Insco.
Present.
Mr. Rajagopal.
Present.
Mr. Unger.
Here.
Okay, Mr. Jeff, now?
Sure. I recommend that the board move to go into executive session in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees. In accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22G2, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes. ORC 121.22G3, to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the township attorney, and 121.22G8, to consider confidential information relating to specific business strategy and to discuss negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
I'll make a motion if you're finished.
We have motion.
That was long-winded. Jeez.
There's a motion on the floor for the executive sessions.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions?
None from me.
Not I either.
Mr. Insco.
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mr. Unger.
Aye.
This board will adjourn for the executive sessions. Will convene, be back at 7 o'clock. Okay? We return from the executive sessions. And
Mr.
anything,
Mills?
Mr. Mills, anything to report?
There's no report. Thank you.
Okay. Would you please make a roll call?
Mr. Insco.
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal.
Aye.
Mr. Unger.
Here.
Um,
Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a meditation, a silent prayer. Let's continue to pray for our officer, Dale Woods, and also his family and his children. Also other officers, they lost a life in the line of duty. We continue to pray for the safety of these police officers years to come. Thank you very much. Be seated, please.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is the fiscal office approval of minutes from January 23rd to 2019.
Actually, January 22nd. The first is the organizational meeting. I'd like to ask for your
I would motion that we would approve the minutes from the organizational meeting.
I'll offer a second.
Okay, any discussions?
Yeah, I got your email. I was referring to the paper because the way I was reading it, like it was, the letters were coming across the logo on the side. And so sometimes it was hard to see. That's what I was referring to in that email.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you
Just FYI.
You didn't reply back when I asked you what you meant, so.
Which, did you send it today, I assume?
Right after, almost.
Okay.
I
Well,
think
just
I-
for future reference, that's what I was referring to. It was just hard to read.
Okay,
Maybe on regular paper, if it's long, if it's not, no big deal. Because I like the logo at the top. That doesn't interfere with anything, but on the side, it's hard to read.
okay.
All good.
So,
I offered a second.
yes.
If any further, no discussions?
None from me.
Okay. Would you please?
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
All right, and then the minutes from the January 22nd regular meeting.
We have motion on the floor.
I'll offer a second.
Any discussions?
None from me.
Please,
All right. Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Very good, thank you.
The next on the agenda is the presentation. It's a website launch.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal, Board of Trustees, and everyone in the audience today. This is a really exciting time for us. We last year, you'll remember, the theme to all of our initiatives was transparency, and several of our transparency initiatives are going to be turned public-facing today, and it's the result of an incredible amount of work by a whole lot of people, and the result is going to be a website that is easier to access, that looks a little bit more like 2019 than 2012 there, and all of our OpenGov is going to, there's a portal on this website that will give you access to all of the data that we use on a daily basis, and also give you easier access to our agendas and minutes. Jeff Weckbach has been spearheading this whole endeavor, and he's done an excellent job. Tonight, we're really excited to cut the ribbon on our 2019 website, and we'll allow for the trustees to jump up, cut the ribbon, and we'll flip the switch.
This is going to work, right? It's going to work. It's going to work, right?
So they trust me with the big scissors, and they get the little ones. I'm just kidding.
Go ahead.
Raj, really, I'd rather watch you rip that screen than me.
No, you go.
No, I want a little pair. They don't trust me with the big ones.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I'll stand here and hold a pair.
Yeah, Raj did patrol for so many years. I figured he can hold a big bear scissors. All right.
So on the count of 3, if you guys want to get in there, come on.
Yeah, other side. This is my good side. You did that.
On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey!
Can I get to keep this? It's nice.
So this is the new website. It's actually going to be live tomorrow, and just as a forewarning to everybody, when a website does get switched on, it can take up to 24 hours. So you may, depending on when you actually sign on to our website here, you may get the old site, you may get the new site, you may get a 404 error. So there's usually a 24-hour window where the internet is really thinking things through. So keep that in mind. But while we're here, I wanted to start off by showing you all a couple of the fun little features. Up here, if you can barely see my mouse up here, on this top bar, you've got a little icon for Facebook that takes us to our Facebook page, a little video button, which will take you to Waycross to look at old meetings. And then we've got this little button that says Welcome. And this takes us to this fun Welcome to Colerain Township video. Let's see if volume's not working. Oops. Let me pause that real quick. Try it there. Let me pull this out. Go old school to try to get the volume. Yeah, put the
live here.
So that is, as you all know, that's Colerain Township.
That's us.
Every single shot in there. Who knew Colerain had so many great things, right?
I did.
Right, we all did, right? So that's there on the website. It's hopefully a little welcome message for everybody. One other cool thing about the website, and I'm not going to do it right now because I can't see the top corner here, is it's responsive. So depending on the size of the screen that you're using, the site automatically adjusts. So if you're using your smartphone, you're going to see things in a list format as opposed to, this great, awesome picture and all of that. That way it's a little easier for you to use. Do the same thing. So if I had this on my laptop, it would size the screen down to fit my laptop a little more appropriately. So it's really great in my opinion. They call that responsive design. The website's going to focus more on the use of mega menus, which are these things here. So we try to list out different things. We've cleaned up the site to get rid of a lot of old content. So that's the big stuff there. Some of these buttons down here are going to be of extra importance to everyone. So starting from the right,
Yeah.
service request.
I love that. That's always the hardest one to find.
That's going to take you right to our CSR, which is going to let you file, nuisance complaints, ask for open records, all these different things. Jobs will let you see what kind of job openings we have right now with the township. News will take you to Circle so that you can get the latest news that we post through Circle. Events, this takes you to our event calendar. Agendas and minutes, I'm going to go ahead and click in. So agendas and minutes is going to be a little different with the way that this website is set up. We've got the link to Waycross here as well for everybody. We've got minutes that are archived, so things from prior to, I think that says 2013 or 2014. So those are there. It's in a little bit of a different format. The items from 2013, 2014, whatever that is, up until 2018 are in another different format. But our new tool that we've been using internally is called Civic Clerk, and that's going to be all of our 2019 and beyond. So now when you click on that and come here, you'll either see, like tonight, this drop-down window, which will give you agendas or minutes for this meeting or upcoming meetings, or below, prior meetings. And when you open up these meeting minutes, if you have a PDF reader, which you will probably need to actually look at the minutes, you can click on the side to open up bookmarks. And these bookmarks will let you jump right to the section that you want to get to. So you don't have to scroll up and down through everything that is there. And if anybody has questions on how to do that, I'd be more than happy to show you that. So I know there was a comment a couple meetings ago about, we got this big policy book, which is taking up a lot of space. Well, you can just jump right past that if you don't want to look at it or spend a lot of time on it. So really helpful. The other really big thing that I want to touch on is our new button for transparency. So on this, you got another link to the agendas and minutes. We've got staff and elected official contact information. So if you click here, it's going to take you to our directory. This has all the direct lines for department heads. It has direct lines for other key staff members that are involved in different things. Then we've got, below that is our document center. So that's going to replace what eGov looked like for the different documents. Our budget book and strategic plan, our policy manual is down here. But the thing that I'm most excited about is this data transparency portal. So when you click on this, it's going to take you to another site, which is not part of our website, but is part of OpenGov. So what you're looking at right here are all these different reports that we have of different data sets that we collect and have maintained either for quite a long time or maybe just from 2018. So this first thing that loads is our budget. So if you want to go in and look at our budget, you can click around, and as you click in, it takes you into different layers. Something to keep in mind is that if you want to look at the data a little differently, and I'll use a different report because it's a little easier to show. Here's our crime reports. Once it loads, it's thinking.
We just have zero crime. That's
Yeah, so this was our 2018 crime data, and this was set to basically show violent versus property crime. Those are kind of two broad categories. Now, if you scroll down on this bar below all the other reports that we have available, we have different views. So if you want to look at whatever that view says it is, it will automatically take you there. Again, I can't read what it says because it's so far away. But another thing to keep in mind is that we have filters on this data. So you can change it to the type of activity. So this is going to be a little more detailed, show you a little bit extra, and what have you. And so we got different reports for each department. It's all up there. We're going to be updating it monthly. So if you're really interested in something that the township does that they have up there, it'll be there for you to look at your leisure. And you can develop little reports. You can share your reports as you kind of get a view that you like. You can download it so you can have it for your own personal records. So there's a lot of info there. The other thing to keep in mind too is with this new website, like I said, there's going to be kind of a 24-hour transitioning period where you may or may not get this website. That's another great picture that shows up. Our homepage doesn't rotate through pictures anymore. It's just a different one when you reload. But let us know if you find things. as always, we're always trying to improve. So if you find something that looks out of place, or if there's a document that you're looking for that you can't find, or if you're just having a hard time, locating a news story or information for a department, give us a call. I worked with our office manager quite a bit so that she has a good understanding of how our OpenGov side works as well as our website. So hopefully she'll be able to help you find what you need, and if not, we can find somebody else who can. I do want to take a moment, though, and thank a few of our staff members who have been hugely instrumental in this whole process. From the start of this project, Jeff Mills, Jesse Urbancic, Jennifer Pleger, and Tawana Moulter, as well as Rob Shepard, have all been very intimately involved in everything that's going on. They've done a lot of the content edits. It's without their work, none of this would be here ready today. It would have taken a lot longer. And then I also want to thank all of our department heads. All that data that you guys saw is because our department heads track that and because they use that and they want to find ways to manage better based on what their data is saying. So things to keep in mind, people that I want to thank, and I'm excited to have this go live tomorrow, and I hope you guys are excited too.
Awesome. Thank you for acknowledging staff on that too. That's awesome.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead, sir.
I have a question. Does this go back to 2011?
Does what go back to 2011?
Records go back to 2011.
The agendas and minutes? Yes. Yep.
Thank you for your hard work on this. I would just ask everybody to give it a couple weeks, because once a lot of people start using it, bugs can pop up and questions and things might need to be adjusted. So thank you for your patience. I know you've worked on this quite a bit, and thank you for all your hard work. Hopefully it'll make documents available so that it cuts down on our public information request, and as time goes by, we can figure out how to put more and more and more on the website. So it looks like a great start, and I can't wait to try it out in 2 days from now when it's working. So,
Awesome.
It's great. We want to make the Colerain Township more transparency to the residents, what's going on in the township. And this is a great tool, excuse me, to know what's going on, and also you can give a lot of input. And like Jeff said, we always try to improve what we do for the people of this township. Then let's move on to the next on the agenda. Will be citizens address, questions concerning today's agenda. I'd like to start with a few remarks on the citizens address. You probably see that a different change of format. We don't have a second citizens address, but we'll try to have the first citizens address. The reason being, we spend more time on all the resolution items, the business matters in the agenda. At the same time, I really want to thank all the residents come here in this cold weather or bad weather to come here to address your concerns, how we can improve our township to a better life. As a board president who conducts this meeting, I want this meeting to be a very meaningful meeting. So we've come and talk, we need to accomplish something, not to just talk and go away. It should be a meaningful meeting. And 2 weeks ago, I went to the Ohio Township Conference. I learned a lot from there. The major things I learned about the public meetings. There's 2 classes on the public meetings. The one is conducted by the professors from the Ohio University. It's more like a round table class. The trustees close to about 50 trustees come and discuss how they do the meetings in their township, how they make it very successful out of this meeting. The other class from the Attorney General's office is about 3.5 hours class about the public records and the public meetings. It is very, very educational, and also I learned a lot. That's the reason that I tried to have a different type of format on the meeting, more the people can address. But what I also like to see, the citizens and the staff, the administration work together, not attacking our personnel. So any concerns about how the heads of the department operate or the administrator operate, trustee do, email us, email your concerns, and we'll respond within a week time, respond to you, your questions. And spending more time here and talking about reading, it takes up the meaningful meeting. That's the main thing I like to address. When I address to them, come to address the meeting, please respect our personnel. Give us a chance to give you your answers within a reasonable time. So we put the time clock here. The reason we still like to the 5 minutes to talk. Almost every township does that, but we are not going to address you, or what your cutoff time is 5 minutes, but we continue to say, but we like to limit what you say within the 5 minutes. Also, you will see in the clock how long you've been using the time, because it gives the opportunity for other people to express their concerns. Also, we can follow up, go on, move forward to what's in the agenda. Then again, I really want to emphasize this meeting should be a meaningful meeting. When you come, spend your time, come all the way from home, this cold weather, to sit here, I want this meeting to be very meaningful. What you say, we listen, we do the follow-up. And that's a focus of this meeting. And keep this in mind, please, to work with us and address your concerns. And if you're going over the time limit, and we were here after the meeting, we'll sit down and talk to you with concerns. Then again, we talked about emailing, take the phone, call us, call the trustees, call the administrators. Okay, I really admire you to follow that type of the procedures. So in the future, this meeting will become a meaningful meeting. Thank you so much for following that procedures. I have a list of people here. I'll call Jim Byron.
Mr. Kramer.
Kramer?
Mr.
I think Kramer was the next one, actually.
I mean, Joe Kramer. Joe Kramer.
How you doing, Joe?
Okay, my name's Joe Kramer, and I'd like to introduce my son, Robert Kramer. Come up here, Robert. And I would like to thank the trustees for helping this matter on getting this in here, and Jeff also. We started on a project several weeks ago, and the events of early January kind of altered what we had in mind. But what we did is we made a couple of symbols here. There's over 60 hours in each one of these, and there's over 60 lineal feet of wood. And we're dedicating these to the police and the fire departments. Is Chief Denny and Chief Cook here? Okay, we would like to present these flags to our two chiefs, and I would like to thank Officer Mike or Lieutenant Mike Owens and Assistant Chief Will Mueller for help in getting me the badges. Did you know about that? Okay. We can't have this one back. But anyway, and I would like to thank Deb Fales too for giving me some advice on how to do that. Is Deb here?
I saw her earlier. I'm here, Jeff. There she is.
Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to drag this out, okay? I'm anxious to present these to these guys. And the only request that we have is that you hang these in a place of honor and respect for all our policemen and firemen who have lost their lives serving our community. And this is dedicated to all the police and fire departments. Okay?
Amen. Thank you.
You hold that up, that camera where Jeff Mills is, will pick that up.
We need a drum roll.
Could you all get all of you guys in the middle? Yeah. Chief Cook. Can I get you in the middle with Joe and? Jump in there, guys. Yeah, get in there. There you go. Never seen anything like that. Never seen anything like that. Just screw it in there. Right.
So that's a very nice way to honor our police and fire. Thank you so much for all the effort that went into putting that together.
Once again, thank you so much. That's a beautiful place.
Excuse me. I wanted to tell the chief that if he ever has to come after me, will you send me an email? And a slow mail, if you will. And if all that don't work, get Frank some of the other stuff.
I'll bail you out. I think that's Jim Acton.
Jim Acton?
I can. I don't know if Raj can. First of all, can you write? This is like hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Holy! I've seen cave dwellings that are clearer than
Jim
that.
Byron?
It's either Jim Acton or Jim Byron. Brian. If your name's Jim, just raise your hand. So is there more than one Jim here? Well,
Okay,
caveman.
Jim.
I'm the only one?
Yes, sir.
You misspelled your name, but it's close enough.
I don't have.
No, that Raj is the reader.
We got three.
Roger, the president, so handle it, deal with
Blame it
it.
on me.
Yeah. Good to see you, Jim.
Good to be back.
Amen.
Amen. I hope I can come back next meeting also.
Absolutely.
I will in the Lord, the creek don't rise too high. I'd like to start the meeting out, or what I've got to say out on a positive note right now. Jeff, thank you for working with the school board and people down there. Park and all that's going to be down there. I used to be soccer fields years ago, and I coached soccer down there for many years. And I hope that street goes all the way through, because we as residents back there in the early 50s fought for that street to go all the way into the school, so our kids didn't have to go across that skinny bridge that's there that floods all the time.
How many years did you say you've lived here? We're doing a search for the longest tenured resident.
Not me.
Not even close. How many years?
I've been here 45 years.
45? That's pretty good. That's a good start. We'll keep that in mind.
As a start. The deal with the website, I'm glad to see that. My question is, are we still involved with Circle?
Yes. Yeah, there was a link on there that you can click on and still sign up for.
How many signups do we have for Circle now?
Last I checked, there was over 1,000. If anybody can correct me on that, that'd be wonderful. But a decent amount. When we transferred over, I think it was at like 300. So it's grown significantly.
What's our cost now?
The cost has stayed the same, if I'm not mistaken. We're locked into, what, a 3-year contract? Am I on a roll? Let me just Okay, cool.
You're the only one who can answer the question
Yep.
as normal.
I got lucky, okay?
As normal, yeah. One other question, and I'd like to ask. Sunday, I attended a concert at the Arlington Cemetery, and it was basically for seniors. They did serve Grater's ice cream afterwards, and that's what brought everybody there. But do we have any senior citizens affairs put on by the township next door in January, February, March?
The YMCA has a ton of programming that they're doing, and then they
That's
do.
within the Y. I'm talking about the township.
Are the dinner socials and lunch socials, is that through the township or is that through the Y?
So we contract all of our seniors center with the YMCA.
YMCA.
Okay, yeah.
YMCA do all this
Well,
programming, you know.
but you can always rent it.
I asked, this here affair was open to anybody around Arlington Cemetery, whether you had somebody buried there or not. And thank God there was like 200, 250 people showed up, filled up their hall there. But it was a Cincinnati brass band. And I know they used to play down at the amphitheater in the summertime. I would suggest we talk about transparency and growing together as a community. If that place sits empty next door, why doesn't the township put on something like that? Since the brass band, bring them in. Anybody except the karate girls. I don't want to see them anymore.
He doesn't like the naked karate girls, is what he's saying.
How much the place sits empty? It sounds to me like it's got a pretty full schedule.
Yeah. It's actually they raised the prices because it was booked every weekend actually for weddings and parties and events and stuff like that. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I haven't checked into that, but I thought it would be something to draw the community closer together if we had something like that, because I've seen a lot of old friends at this thing Sunday that I probably haven't seen in 10, 15 years.
Oh, wow.
It was good to see them. Is Mr. Schwarzkopf here today?
He's right behind you.
Yes, behind you.
You're all sitting in the backs? Okay, good. Struble, I told you about that already. I'm going to ask Heather about the truck situation. $186,000 vehicle. Mr. Schwarzkopf, what's that about?
When I do my report, I'll talk about the truck.
I won't be here. I got to leave at 8:30 medicine-wise. But thank you anyway.
There's a memo in the agenda that explains it.
And you can rewatch it on YouTube later as well.
All the purchase and everything is another agenda.
Well, I've got
Talk about.
that part of the agenda.
Okay.
But when I seen $186,000 down at the bottom of the sheet, I thought, I'd go out and buy me a couple of semis for that and start working for the township. I was curious what it was about. My next question is, I see there's going to be some information about the streets bid. And I looked at these streets, and I think it was 4 years ago that there was another audit or another inspection put out about the streets here. And the street that I lived on at that time was number 10. I've seen that there's been 2 audits since then, or whatever you want to call them, PCIs or something like that. But I'm looking at the 2019 location, and 4 of these 5 streets are cul-de-sacs. And I got to figuring in my head with a little help from somebody else, and we figured out that it's going to cost us, and correct me, Kevin, if I'm wrong here, about $700 per mile. Our sister areas, Green, Sims, Anderson, and all that, are spending about 100,000 miles per mile. They're using a different system, which seems to be working like we had down on Lake Hills. A few of us suggested that to our ex-roadman, and that's what they put down, and it looked great. working well, but that was $100,000 a mile. This here is, like I say, we got 114.8 miles in the township, and this is coming out to about $700,000 per mile, which is very expensive. I suggest that you guys look into that. And you know all about.
I'd have to look at your figures. I'm not sure how you're coming up with $700,000 per mile.
Well, if you divide everything up here and divide it by the cost and all that, which I don't know who got the bid of that.
The largest discrepancy in those costs is the actual work being done. When you have to tear up a whole road, sewers, gutters, curbs, the whole 9 yards, it's a lot more expensive than back in Desert Gold, or not Desert Gold.
Yeah, they did not do the Desert Gold side of the neighborhood. They did the Lake Valley side of it.
Thank you. Yeah, back there in Lake Hills, it was like tar and chip kind. What's slurry slush? What was that?
Microsurfacing.
Microsurf. Yeah. So it's a different technique. And I went door to door asking residents if they liked it or not, and the majority said it was better than what was there before. They didn't like it, but it was better than what was there before. So it's kind of like, yeah, to some people.
Why are we only doing cul-de-sacs and not doing main drag?
However, it was scored.
I would ask Kevin.
Yeah, that would be a Kevin thing in his report.
Yeah, Kevin will talk about.
Kevin will talk about all the road on the.
Well, like I say, I wish I could be here, but I got to leave at 8:30 due to medical situations. And the other situation I want to talk about is the agenda tonight is a proposal to put some streetlights down at Pleasant Run Elementary. Question number one to the three trustees is not county property.
It is.
It's a Pippin Road. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a county.
The long and the short of that is it was like half as expensive for us to do it versus the school. I don't recall the why, but
$6,000.
it was their bid. Jeff can correct me on this, but their bid was like 10 grand, and we were able to do it for like half that, something like that. So we stepped up. If I'm not mistaken, that was how that went down.
It's primarily safety for the children.
Yes.
The safety is number one priority.
And in all fairness, I think that we owe a large debt of gratitude to the school board, especially after some deals that I felt they got the short end of the stick on. So at least they didn't get the short end of the stick on this one for sure. And we want to have a good relationship with our school board and our. It just makes sense, you know. So.
A lot of residents in precinct 20, which I am a representative, they say if they didn't get what they were supposed to get originally, is this to cover up for what they lost?
What? No, not in my opinion, not by a long shot. But
we never did agree with the school on that.
Yeah. But in my opinion, no. I still think that we can do more for them. But that's me speaking private personally.
Go ahead, Jim.
Mr. Mills, contract here, is this $2,308.03 per light post?
Which contract are you looking? Oh, you're looking at the.
174.
Thanks. Glad we have those numbers on.
Yeah, way to go, Jim.
Thank you.
So option A is to pay $2,300, and that would pay for the capital equipment, and then the ongoing per month maintenance is $6.06. So that's for one roadway LED, 110 watt gray.
$6.06 per pole.
Sir.
There's 3 poles being put in, am I correct?
There's 2.
2, okay, so forget about that. Raj, a statement that you made earlier about holding all this to 5 minutes or whatever it can be. I was going to present to the board tonight, in which I will email the 3 of you 50 questions in 2018 that were not answered.
Jim, my goal is for 2019.
About 18. In the future, I agree with you. If you can sit here and answer us, beautiful. If you can't, let us know. Thank you.
I'll be responsible. Please copy me your email. I'll make sure you get the answer, sir.
Well, it's
This
not
is-
me. so much. It's
Okay,
people
thank you very
sitting out
much.
here
Thank you,
and
Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
We call the next one up while I stagger out of here.
Was the shot clock thing working that whole time?
Yes, sir.
Was everybody like hypnotized by it?
Hey,
Oh, thank you.
thank you, Jim. The next one is Sharon Slager.
Hi, Sharon. Where do we leave off with the light? Do you remember? The path light? Do you remember where we left off with that? Now I'm asking you the question. You see, that's how it works. When you come to us, we...
The light on the walkway?
Yeah. What we-
Last I heard, Colerain owned it, and it was something about the lighting district.
Let me get with the chief before you leave. We'll figure that out. Because I thought there was a bulb issue or something. I don't recall where we left off on that. But, sorry, what were you going to tell us?
There's no light there, so how
Okay,
could
well,
there be
then
a
there's a
bulb
huge bulb issue. There's a missing bulb issue.
Yeah. Chief Cook, I think his name is, from the fire fleet. Thanks, you guys do an excellent job. Love you guys. And they're so friendly. Okay, now let's talk about the cul-de-sac parking problem, which I've had to call the police 4 times on. Once it took 5.5 hours to come to, and one of the trustees getting involved in that. And crime's down. Shouldn't have took 5.5 hours for them to come for that. Stacy had texted me and said it's like an obstacle course down there trying to get in and out of her driveway. So what do you guys think if there was an emergency or something down there? How long? I've watched cops last summer chasing people through that catwalk down there. And they actually, they'll bring their cars down and they'll slide a couple feet before it stops. They're going to wipe out all the cars that are parked in that circle down there this time. Plus, are we going to wait until something emergency happens before they actually do something about them cars that keep parking down there?
Real quick, when the roads resurface, do you think that'll solve all the cul-de-sac issues you're having? Or you think you'll still have them even after that?
Oh, no. Some people just moved in down there, and I think they must have 20 cars. They just park all in the cul-de-sac. They didn't care less.
They all have tags, I'm hoping?
Yeah. I don't think some of them move, but they do.
I don't recall the law on that, but I can ask the chief.
Sharon, something that will address to the chief and make sure this problem is resolved. This is our goal.
I called them before. I called that 321 cops 4 times.
Well,
First time it took 5.5 hours. The second, third time, I don't even think anybody showed up. But the 4th time, I did message Chief Denning, and they were there within 30 minutes.
I think you contacted me on one of those, and I think Chief sent somebody over pretty quick.
That was
and
5.5 hours.
got the guy, no, not after you called me.
Well,
he
I
got-
called
he
him
sent-
5.5 hours after I sat there and
Okay,
waited
and I
for
think
him.
he got somebody over there, and the fellow was parked several feet beyond the stay out of this area fire lane sign, something like that.
No, he was right. He's right in that. They're
Hopefully
they're
it's
all
not-
right in that circle. But on their defense, last year when I watched the concrete people and stuff come, there used to be a sign there that said no parking with the arrow going down to the cul-de-sac, and that sign's no longer there. I watched a
Is that
dump
because of the
truck.
construction? Is that why the sign's no longer
I
there?
watched a dump truck wipe that sign out, and then the guy took the sign and threw it in the back of the truck and left.
Public Works, Kevin, can we get a sign down there when you get a chance?
Yeah, Kevin will look into that.
Yeah, that's it. That's an easy
Yeah,
one.
but in my opinion, that's a waste of money that you guys are replacing them signs like that when the construction people are the ones wiping them out. Why can't you get them to replace them signs or
Well,
pay?
if you see somebody damaging one of our signs, please contact us.
Yeah, the concrete trucks do it all the time, but they don't take them with them. They just leave them there.
Well, call us so we can pick them up and re-put them up.
Yeah, they'll let Kevin know, let the contractor know, and we can bill him for him.
Okay,
Yeah.
next is our road, which if you turn off of Galbraith going on to Jackie's, Stacy says it's like a bomb went off down there. I say it's like several bombs have went off down there because there is potholes absolutely everywhere. You can't get, I mean, it's horrible.
bad.
Have you ever accidentally drove on a train track? I did when I was younger. It's actually bumpier than driving down that train track on accident. It's horrible.
In the last 3 weeks, we've had 8 inches of snow and had it go up to 55, had more snow, we've
Just
had
makes it even
5 or
worse.
6 freeze thaws in the last 6 weeks, and that's kind of blowing everything up, so.
But the good news is, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
It was great.
Almost done.
It was
It's
great.
almost
The snow
done.
was there, they disappeared.
As soon as it warms up, it'll be all done.
But when it came back, yeah, when are they gonna restart? I ain't
As
seen
Most of the
nobody.
As soon
asphalt,
as I change the weather, I haven't found that knob yet.
most of the asphalt plants open back up April 1st, but Kevin would be more knowledgeable about the production schedule on that, and he'll address that when it's his turn to speak.
Okay,
That's,
so
that's
let's,
important thing that, and Dane Hunger and we talked, the roads is one of the primary campaign, goals,
Right, right.
to roads. And if you look on the agenda, you see how much money we're going to spend on this 2019 on the resurfacing the roads and fixing the roads. If you see anything like this, please email us or email Kevin. We'll take care of that.
Or you can call 385-code, or you can
Yeah.
use the new website in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a service request line.
Go ahead,
All
please.
right, my 5 minutes is up, so happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I've never seen someone cut themselves off.
Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day
Thank
to
you
you
for the donuts and happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much.
You're on your own. on
Carrie
that one.
Davis. Carrie Davis, please.
Knock it all out, one big swoop.
Thank you.
We're not worthy, we're not worthy.
Oh, is this
Thank
all
you.
one package?
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
should make that part of the record. You can take one of these around and pick them. Okay, a couple things.
Been really mean lately. About our street, by the way, it's just off the chain. And we had asked months ago if somebody from Public Works could routinely put it in their routine to come through there at least once a week and patch things up. But it is really, really, really bad. And my mechanic, my $600 repair bill, he said, "What the heck did you hit?" And I said, I don't remember hitting anything. And he said, "That you live back on that Royal Heights neighborhood?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "That constant banging broke this." And there's another girl back there who has the same complaint. So this is really having financial implications for the people in my neighborhood. I'm okay, I didn't think about the money, but that single mom, that's a lot of money for her. This is doing serious damage to people's cars. And so I'd appreciate it if you guys would come out just every Monday, drive through, get your bucket ready, because there's going to be stuff to fill. It's really, really bad right now. Anyway, in regards to the public comments last week, I was a little embarrassed, and I think I even stepped over line at one point, pointing at you gentlemen, and I apologize. But somebody told me that that did come off rude, and I didn't. I do apologize for that. But I do want to also say to you all, I attached a citation at the top of your paper, some rules about public employees, and because people are saying on social media and here, you aren't allowed to criticize our employees. And I wanted to make it very clear that the public, according to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1974, we do have a right to address any top official, police, fire department, public works, anybody, and they give a description of persons who have power and influence over your government. That doesn't mean underlings, but top officials in your government are subject to the criticism of the public, but there's no excuse for vulgarity, screaming at them, pointing at them like I did, but I want to just let you guys know you can't tell people, don't talk to our employees, talk to me. That's inappropriate. The other issue I wanted to bring up is I have heard Jeff speak about this multiple times, and it always made me feel uneasy. And Larry, please feel free. I'm not an attorney, so feel free to tell me when I'm wrong. But I keep hearing him describe how he calls you each one at a time and asks your opinion on stuff. And so I did a little cursory legal research on it. And that's essentially a round robin. Anytime you're talking to less than the majority of the people, it's a round robin meeting. You are not allowed to call and solicit a person's position, the trustee's position on an issue, to indicate to you how they might vote, so that you know what to put on the agenda and which to go. That the courts have ruled that this is a violation of the public meetings law, and you are denying us our right to hear your discussion. So if he might approve of something for one reason, Greg might approve for another, and Raj might approve for another, and the public becomes better informed on how decisions are being made. And these are relevant, and they're supposed to be of public record. I gave you a case, a Spring Grove City Council, which is not controlling, it's only persuasive law, which addressed exactly talking about an administrator. The city administrator conducted a telephone poll individually to members and got their positions on issues and then brought it forward. And so essentially, he knew at the end, whenever he knows at the end of the conversation whether something's going to pass or not, then he knows he broke the law. You should never have a decision made in personal conversations individually because you're denying us our opportunity. Now, that case I cited to you, and it's in Raj's copy, not everybody's. I also, because that does not control, our courts control, I also included an article about Mark Mallory kind of doing the same thing with his administration, going around, making phone calls to each individual and getting declarations of votes. So I wanted to caution you on that, but I am not an attorney. Larry's your attorney, and I'm not an attorney because I don't know as much as him, or I'd be called one. I also want to say something in defense of Stephanie and Kathy that I think is going over everybody's heads. I personally, and I've told them this myself, I don't like the way they approach you all, but I really think you guys are missing the point of what they're saying. When they bring these...
Carrie, let me, I want to address what's your concern to the trustees, what citizen says, the meeting, that's a different thing. But I'd like to hear your concerns here to address the trustees, board of trustees, what we like to do for you, the township.
I don't think he wants you addressing citizens in the audience, is what he's saying, if I'm understanding him correctly.
Example.
Yeah, I don't like to pick the people up's name. I don't care who it is, but mostly I would like to see in this meeting, like I said at the beginning, this meeting is a meaningful meeting. What benefits the township, and you address a problem. We are here to.
Well, what I was saying was, I think what some people are showing you in bits and pieces, with $8 here, $4 there, $40 here, is they gave out a packet the other day at the last meeting, and they didn't point it out, but I read at the bottom of it, there was a block by the auditor, and it said that these types of accounting errors totaled more than $1.5 million. Okay? So when people bring you little things, they seem little, sometimes they're actually just what's sticking up of a much bigger problem. And I think that's kind of going over a lot of people's heads, is that they're finding small errors, but the iceberg is under the water, and it's in that auditor's report saying $1.5 million was not properly accounted for according to standards. All righty, let's see. I talked to you all about the Rumpke penalties. Is there any update you can give me? Are you planning on doing anything with it?
I actually had that written down because I was hoping somebody had an update for me, because I do not have an update, and that was something interesting that you had mentioned. So if anybody has an update on that, that'd be wonderful.
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I would say Rumpke does a lot of things that are outside of the contract to help certain residents or somebody that's got a street that they can't get down, and the drivers will get out and walk, 100 feet down the street to get, if they have a customer that they know is disabled and can't get their can to the curb. And Rumpke does a lot of things they could be billing us for on that contract also. And that might be part of it you're not aware of.
That is actually part of the contract. It's called backdoor service. where customer actually signs up for it, but I would not doubt if Rumpke does that for elderly people without even being asked. I can imagine them being that
They do
proactive.
fabulous
I
work
think
on the
Rumpke's great. I don't,
street pickups.
but I've looked. I'm trying to find a reason. I did find that the city of Milford vigorously enforces their contract, which is almost identical to ours, and they are bringing in thousands of dollars. And as I told you all privately, this isn't about 10 grand in a bank account. This is about Rumpke having unjust enrichment, not having to expend probably close to 100 grand on employees to do the required monitoring of the contract. So it's not just the 10 grand, it's how much more they're saving. Let's at least split it with them. But it sounds like we have no meeting planned with them. Is that correct? There's no meeting planned?
I have no meeting planned with them.
So in February, we're required to have a meeting. You're not going to have the meeting.
I do not have a meeting scheduled with them.
Pardon me?
I do not have a meeting scheduled with them
For February?
for February as it relates to the contract, yeah.
Okay.
One thing, if I can add real quick, that the previous administration did that I thought was wonderful is they invited Rumpke here for quarterly reports, or maybe annual or biannual, I don't remember what it was. But if anybody else would like our administrator to reach out to them to come give us any kind of report, or a chance for them to answer some of these questions that you guys have, that I would love for Rumpke to be here and be able to answer those questions for us and whatnot.
Last week, Raj brought up the idea, he didn't call it a work session, I think Larry identified it as a work session, but you brought up the idea of work session meetings, and Dan seemed very good with that. But I was wondering why nobody made a motion to, hey, let's start having them.
I didn't have my planner on me.
I have not had anybody at all contact me about, hey, I don't like policy 17. Tell me, let's meet about it. I'm still waiting for that first contact of somebody to say they want to have this. I voted yes on the policy book. I was fine with it. If anybody has something in there they disagree with, please call me and we'll get something scheduled.
It appears to me, and like I said, I'm not an attorney, and I have no problem with being corrected, but I attended for the first time a work session meeting of the Board of Education, and it provided an opportunity for you guys to sit and talk in a less formal atmosphere about all the things that people are bringing up, and allows you to make progress on things.
They're allowed to talk two at a time anyway because they're a 5-person board, whereas we can't. So they've got that advantage right off the bat. At the work session you were at, did they allow resident input, just out of curiosity?
Actually, they were
curious.
it was cool. I was kind of
Henry,
excited.
I think I like that idea. Maybe myself and Jeff and other 2 trustees will sit down and talk about this. We'll bring it up.
I'd like you to I'm asking that you guys do, take a vote,
It has
bring it
been
to
a
the thing and take
very
a
hectic
vote.
week this whole month, a lot of things happening.
Last 6 months.
But we will definitely look into it. Go ahead.
All right, the next thing sucks really bad. You know, last week I was talking to you about lighting districts and stuff, and how I felt that you guys were given inappropriate, incorrect information about lighting districts, and so I was still digging. And the document you have in front of you, the lighting district, and I might need education here, the lighting district is supposed to be a net zero account where everything that comes in, exactly the same amount comes out. And when there's an imbalance, that means somebody usually made a boo-boo, unless there's some rule I don't know about or some process that is beyond the scope of my research. I am seeing in this account a carryover, annual carryover of about 100 grand each year, guys, 100 grand. So I'm very concerned that at some time prior to this board, I believe somebody inappropriately billed our residents in the lighting districts. Okay, I'll shut up if you want to explain it to me. I don't know what happened. That's the only way other townships have told me it may have happened, is the residents were overbilled. The bottom line is that account generally should be a zero, some carryover, and we're carrying over 100. And I also wanted to point out to you that when you estimate our expenditures in 2018 and in 2020, it says about $172,000 is the expenses, but in 2019, it's $223,200. $223,000, an extra $50,000. So maybe there's something that was beyond the scope of my research that I'm not understanding, but I wanted to bring it to your attention that normally this fund does not have any money to carry over, and I have no idea why we would incur $50,000 more in one year than another year. But do we answer questions? No, he's telling you not to.
You just said,
answer.
no, I didn't say anything. You said you have no idea. You have to format that as a question. I would say it'd be really tough to get the account to zero out every year because you might not have 100% collections on it. You might have a situation where somebody's in arrears. I don't even know if that year starts January 1st and ends December 31st for all of them.
And
so there might be times when it flows and ebbs with funds that are in there.
Well, it's actually, you're reading it backwards. So,
Am I?
Yep. So expenses are higher than revenues, so there's no carryover. So the revenues that are coming in, so the way it works is if you live in a neighborhood, like what Northbrook is trying to do right now, you can establish a lighting district for your neighborhood, and there's a long process, and I'll spare you all that. But at that point, everybody that's in your lighting district is splitting the cost of that charge. And so what happens is we put that bill on your tax bill.
Right.
Okay. Then there's a whole bunch of other lights that are, say, at the intersection in front of Pleasant Run Elementary or Pleasant Run Middle School, like we're talking about, like the contract that I signed this month. Those are not in a neighborhood lighting district. Those are located in places that the township believes a light should be for safety, for public safety. And the township pays that out of the general
The
fund.
statute says you're not allowed to
through
do
a
that, by the
transfer.
way. You're not allowed to commingle this with your regular electric bill. Statute is very, very clear.
Yeah, we don't do that. So what you're seeing is an overage. So the expenses are higher than the revenues. The revenues that are coming in are the taxes that basically we're billing the lighting district, the residents that are in a lighting district. And the difference between the expense minus revenue is the amount of money that we're spending on lights that are not in a neighborhood.
You're not
lighting
allowed to
district.
do that. You're not allowed to have, that has to be on a separate line according to the statute.
Okay.
And by the way, just so you guys understand, these are actually billed a year in arrears. So we just got on, if I had an assessment on my bill, it would be based on 2018 and I pay it in 2019. So he's got a good point. You've got people who might mess up and not pay their bills. We could have houses.
That's the same way property taxes are. The bill you just paid was for the first half of 18.
Right. Yes, sir. So just for your information, but I would ask that somebody really look into this because I'm not really understanding what he's saying, and I've read extensively on it.
Okay, we'll look into it. Go ahead.
Okay, here's the next part is your sign that my page that says, Colerain businesses say Colerain is not open for business. So I was following up on my issues of the contracts and what happened with the playground, or almost happened with the playground. And I, like that other gentleman, when I saw that gosh darn $186 expenditure, I thought, wow, that's a lot of money. And it made me do some digging. And I found some things that were concerning to me. Number one, in these, the language in these memos keep referring to pricing through so-and-so, pricing through the state of Ohio procurement. And it gives the impression, and maybe you guys are just a lot smarter than me, but when I read it and it said pricing through the state of Ohio procurement, I thought we bought it through the procurement. It turns out none of these were bought through the procurement. None of them that I can find, although I could be mistaken, have been bought through the agency or organization that is stated in the memo that we're getting our pricing through. And we haven't even been a member of the state procurement program since 2015, which makes absolutely no sense to me why we're not participating. So every single one of these contracts that says this language about pricing through GSA, pricing through Ohio procurement, pricing through Hamilton County. The best I can tell, and I'm fallible, is that we're not doing any of them through those. We aren't using their services. We're using their monies and their data, and then we're doing what I said we did last month with the playground contract. We are going off contract. It's called off contract. And with the off contract, with each one of these guys, our staff are able to go and pick whoever they want to provide the service. And even though the best practices by the state of Ohio's procurement office, which is in Raj's file packet, states that our employees should be getting 3 quotes when we go off contract, because off contract is legal, but they said best practices is to get 3 quotes and make gosh darn sure you document it, because it gives an appearance of impropriety if, in fact, no propriety even exists. But it says it looks so bad that you better get 3 quotes. So I called around. Okay, for example, one of the things, and this language disturbs me, we say that Fuller Ford is our dealer, our local dealer. Why isn't Northgate Ford? And this is why I'm talking about with this Ohio or Colerain Township isn't open for business. I heard this from vendors all over Colerain Township, that for years now, the township has been passing over them, denying them an opportunity to have business, and going to other people, all right? So we're going to Fuller Ford. One of these says for that big $186,000 project, it says in the memo that we're going to our dealer, so-and-so, so-and-so. I forget the company's name. No, our dealer is Blust on Colerain Avenue. And if we were using Ohio procurement, instead of just using their data, Colerain Township business would get that money from that sale, from that transaction. But because we are sidestepping processes and using all kinds of, I don't know what, subjectivity to determine who gets contracts, that money will go to somebody who lives someplace else and doesn't operate a business here.
Carrie, sorry to interrupt you. I'll read this package that you gave. I also make a copies and give it to Kevin and Jeff. You got a copy of this?
I don't, it sounds as though there's some things in your packet that aren't in mine.
Okay,
Yes,
I'll
I just didn't have time to print them all
How about you
off.
let me scan it after the
okay,
meeting?
she will scan it.
And I'll give it
We
back
gotta,
to you and then make copies.
And I'm sorry, I'm
appreciate
almost
you.
done,
Yeah,
okay?
appreciate you.
And for example, so I did some random checks on prices. And like I said, I'm fallible, so I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying from my best efforts, the price we're paying for this tandem storage unit thing is almost half price from another company. And do you guys realize you're buying a discontinued item, which I just don't think is smart? And the other thing was, why in God's name are we buying brand new vehicle? My car's got rust on it in the parking lot because it's my work car. I don't really think buying vehicles because there's rust on the body to bump around and load dirt and manure and supplies and stuff like that because it has rust on the body or the paint.
Sometimes,
That's
Carrie,
one of the reasons. I don't think that's all of the
it's
reasons.
not rust
And
also.
that was my point, Greg, is these memos are insufficient to allow the public, for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're giving you guys enough information to determine, should we really be spending another $186,000 on this piece of equipment, and getting an estimate on the prices? So it's just a suggestion. I don't think you should approve any of that stuff. I think it's very concerning. And I'm wrapping up. Look, see,
Thank you,
only 2 more
because we
pages.
got other people need to
I
come up
attached
with
for
talk.
you, Raj, is the law and the procedure from the Ohio Procurement Handbook, which states, basically what I already told you. I'm not going to repeat it, but it's in more formal language. Get 3 goddamn quotes and
Thank
cover
you.
your butt.
Thank you very
Can I
much.
say one thing? I could not even find these items. When you use the off-contract prices, you are required to get the exact same item I could not find but one of those items on their list, but it's a big database, and maybe I missed it. I could not match them, so I don't know if we are even following those rules. And
Thank you,
that
Carrie.
is all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carrie.
And everything you said, and we'll follow through on Gavin.
We have addressed the Fuller Ford thing in the past. I'll let Chief mention that again in his report if you'd like.
Kathy, more please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Kathy.
Several things, and I know you're trying to eliminate some time at the meetings, but you have to understand that when you're spending money like the township is spending and doing things, hiring people and hiring positions and all that stuff, that people want to ask questions in a public meeting, and they want answers in a public meeting, so other people are aware of the facts also. To start with, at the last meeting, I brought up some issues that you passed in the policy manual, and Dan, you said, why didn't you bring this up before? Well, on November the 13th, I brought up 6 issues in the policy manual that I had a question or problem with, and you said, I'm writing it down, what page is that? And I gave you all the page numbers. And then you say at the last meeting, why didn't you bring this up? So I had brought up on page 412 about the part-time employee getting health insurance. On 413, the option to not receive the health insurance opt-out stipend if somebody didn't want it. On page 413, the MERP charge, or the MERP benefit for your spouse. Page 416, the vacation leave accrual. And on page 419, if you are retire, rehire, a pay cut. And you did have Jeff, the other Jeff, redo the retire hire policy, but there was nothing in there about taking a pay cut, and you totally disregarded.
I think there is.
Well,
I think if you come back as a rehire, you start out at step 1 and you don't advance from that step.
Okay.
And that's a significant pay change.
That's good if that is the case, but there were these other issues that I had brought up, and you said, I'm writing them all down.
And I think at the time that was subject of a lawsuit, and that's why I didn't touch
No,
it.
that was not, and I told you that. And I don't know why you insist on bringing that up every meeting. Oh, was that her lawsuit? Is that when she sued us?
I think the question about releasing.
I'm talking about the policy manual. And then you throw that in there. I mean, I had to file a complaint with the Court of Claims for not receiving public records. So, here's another thing I'd like to give to you that was in the policy manual.
Thank you.
On the first page, there's the first
Thank you.
read that we received.
You said this was not in the policy manual? That's what you said? I didn't hear you correctly, so I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
First page says first read.
Perfect.
That's what was in the policy manual. Then, the second page is what was approved. And you'll notice there are changes. Nobody brought up any changes. I asked Jeff Mills if there were any changes, and he said, yes, there were on the retire, rehire, and something to do with cyber security or something. But nothing under the health insurance. And as you can see, it is different. And nobody questioned anything. And you know what? Greg, I believe you said something about Green Township only has 22 record requests a year.
Yeah, I did a public record request on the public records request just to see what was normal and what wasn't. And
Well, you know what, Green Township, they probably trust their people.
yeah.
That's why
they're
we
fortunate.
request public records, because we don't trust you.
I think the vast majority of people do trust us. I think it's a
I'm telling
small
you why
minority.
we request them.
No, I'm not
Okay,
I'm not
so
faulting you. I'm just saying.
I'm telling you why we do.
That's fine. You don't have to tell me why. I understand why you
And
do.
then also, you passed the policy to say that a public accountant record is not public record. How can you say that?
Please bring it to me. I'm looking at what you just handed me, and you've got highlighted on the first page, spousal coverage isn't provided for part-time employees that are eligible for health care.
And the whole
And
paragraph.
on the back, on the second one, that what we approved, it says spousal coverage isn't provided for part-time employees that are eligible for health care. So you've got the same thing highlighted on both pages.
Did you notice there's an extra paragraph on the bottom of the second page? That was added. That was not in the read first copy. That was added to the approved copy, and I was not aware
That's
of.
not what you have highlighted.
Yeah, that's what.
That, the part I have highlighted is about the
Okay, I see it.
part-time, that says a part-time employee has health insurance, or can get it, is eligible.
And I think what we said was anything that, in the policy manual, that was part of a union contract, the union contract would.
There are no part-time people in the union.
Would supersede that.
That's not it, and I brought it, this is the third time I'm bringing it up to you, and you're obviously not hearing me. Also, I asked at the last meeting about the cell phone stipend, and what is that based on? And I would really like to have an answer as to if that's been reevaluated in the past couple of years, because it's not changed, and how you come up with a dollar amount on the cell phone stipend for employees. And then I also asked at the last meeting regarding the policy manual if Nancy Spears, who retired and was rehired, if she got another 4 weeks vacation. And Dan said, Dan, you said, I don't know. So I did ask that. Does anybody know? Does anybody care?
I would have to direct that to our
Does
human
anybody care if
resources
Nancy
person.
got another 4 weeks vacation that she's not entitled to?
If any employee is getting something they're not entitled to, it's something our human resources department should look at. If it's a specific case.
This problem was brought up last year, and you did nothing about it. You said, oh, let's get a policy. So now you have a policy as of January 22nd, but on January 1st, she got vacation.
I'd have
Could you
to,
check into it, maybe?
okay, and if it's a specific employee rather than naming them, as a general question, I think it's fine, but I will make a
Okay,
note of that
then,
if it's a specific.
Who decided on the changing of the format of the meeting?
I appreciate that Raj and Greg let me run the meetings the way I wanted to for 2018. I think it's good for good government that the presidency would change, and I'm in favor of doing it the way I did it, and I'm in favor of Raj doing it the way he wants to.
Where the department heads sit in the back, they don't answer any questions for the public.
Kathy, let me answer that. The head of the departments, they sit there. There was a concern before they've been attacked personally and stuff. We kind of lost that. They brought to my attention. It's more like, it's an attacking thing, and they felt like they've been, it was not a fair treatment.
Well, I think
But they are, as a public servant, they're obligated to answer.
Sometimes
We serve the citizens. We serve.
ask
We all
them at a
serve the
public
citizens.
meeting.
But the format they suggest to me, we're going to experiment this, like we did the last meeting and this meeting, experiment this. How this like a time clock like this. Like I said right from the beginning, it's a meaningful meeting. The 2019 is not just like a talking, it's more like an action. We're going to see 2019 action. What's the strategic plan happen? What's been told in the 2018 and 2019, we're going to see it's happening. If that's not happening, there's no meaning for these meetings. Nothing.
Well, I kind of agree with
like
that.
this. We need to know. I studied. I did my master's degree. I went to other things. Most of the programs called evidence-based program. You need to be able to quantify. You're able to tell the results. Any programs we do, you can be able to quantify the result. It's called evidence-based program. That's what all the programs in the government entities based on right now. Same thing. I talked to Jeff, and he also mentioned to me there was a concern about the staff sitting over there. And okay, let's try this, and if things change, we'll bring them back and they can answer this. But thing is, the important thing, Kathy, running the meetings, and Dane had a different thoughts on that. Going to the conference, sitting in the, I sat in the meeting.
Thank you for going to that
Yeah,
conference.
thank you.
Yes, thank you
And
for
3.5 hours, the attorney generals gave the class. We sit there. The whole packed classes is unbelievable.
I know, I've been
Lot.
there.
So we practice something different, make sure it works.
Okay,
It's beneficial for our township.
okay,
That's the bottom line.
okay.
For the residents. This is what we're doing, and let's try. We always try something different, make a difference.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
good luck
We'll
with
try
that.
that. I appreciate.
But I
And
just-
today meeting going so far very smooth. I really appreciate you guys doing this.
Well, I just want to say that sometimes we will be told something at a meeting, a department head may make a comment, and then when we go to request a record or whatever, we get a different answer from Heather. So we like to have both of these people who know the circumstances, we like to ask them at the same time. And that is one of the reasons that we like to be able to ask our department heads questions.
I'd like to see, I'd like to meet, this one other thing, coming back from the conference, I'd like to meet with Heather and also our administrator about the public records. It's very critical, and we're gonna, how we can make it more improved to serve the people, serve the residents. And some of the things I learned from the conference, how they put up a team together, it's remarkable. And
You can learn a lot at those.
yeah.
I think the new
And
website
public
will help.
records. Yeah,
for
the
sure.
new
The new
website.
website will be really, really helpful with public record requests.
What I like to also see in the meetings, the people's have a concerns before addressed to the meeting. I like to see email to the administrator or a copy to us, and make sure that the next meeting we have an answer for
When
that.
you get two different answers in an email, or an email is different from what you've been told in public, then you need to bring it up in public to get the truth out there.
Definitely.
Just my opinion.
Thank you, Kathy.
And then, I know at one time there was a position, I saw on Facebook a position advertised for the police department for a fleet driver, and then it was taken down. What happened with that position?
We're not hiring for it right now.
Okay, but it was on Facebook, and shouldn't it be a practice of the board to approve positions before they're advertised?
So in March, what we intend to do as part of a big change that we've been working on for a long time is bring the trustees an organizational chart of every job in the entire township and have the Board of Trustees approve that organizational chart, and attached to each one of those job titles is a job description. And so we would also ask for you to approve every single job description in the entire township. At that point, you have approved an organizational chart and the responsibilities for each item on that organizational chart, and you have appropriated funds through the temporary and permanent appropriations process to fund those. And so this is all, what you'll probably notice over time is that what we're trying to do is have a strategic vision and aligning that, which says what we want to do, and then aligning that with the resources that we have, which is our budget. And so what you saw last year was the alignment of our budget and strategic plan. And then the next piece here is the addition of an organizational chart with job descriptions, and all that gets aligned, and it's all moving in the same direction. I'm really proud of that. Our leadership team has been working very hard on it. And so to answer your question, in the future, what's going to happen is the organizational chart will be approved, and then all those will be, if somebody leaves, we'll have approval to.
But that's what I mean, yeah, you're averting.
Pre-approval.
You're avoiding taking that action in a public meeting.
No, not at all.
Because a position, maybe you won't need a position of somebody who left.
And at that-
Every position should be approved by the board.
Yes, I agree with you 100% on that.
Okay, thank you.
Every position will be approved in an organizational chart.
No, at a public meeting. It should be
It'll be done
approved.
at a public meeting, absolutely.
Not through an organizational chart, but by position. Has the township applied with Social Security to get a refund on the overpayment that was made for the firefighter 2B program? No. And have any of those employees been issued corrected W-2s so they are able to get their Social Security money back?
No.
Okay.
In fact, we have contacted the state auditor for assistance to ask them how to make, I'm sorry, I thought I flipped it, about that process and how to make that happen, and they were not able to issue us guidance on that.
Well, I worked on a project once at a CPA's firm, and it's just a matter of getting the earnings correct and filing the W-2s and getting the amounts correct. So those people are entitled to their money back, and we are entitled to have the $119,000 or whatever it was, or $60,000, I'm sorry, back for Social Security, or $90,000, whatever it was.
Good question.
But I guess since it only happened once,
Oh, yeah, let's hope
that's
it
a
never
good
happens
thing.
again.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Um,
That was a nightmare.
Oh, one comment about the CIC. Would the board consider disbanding the CIC?
If you're asking me as one of the fellow board members, absolutely. I'm, if a couple other board members want to go with it, and then I would also be okay with bringing it back on a case-by-case basis, but as long as we've got at least the Duke project.
I mean, if you don't
Well,
need
there's
it
a
all
million,
the time.
well, like the sidewalk program, we needed it for that, but outside of agreeing to disagree what we do or don't need for it, my simple answer would be yes, I would consider disbanding the CIC, yes.
Okay. And Raj?
I think we have 5 of the 7 board members in the room, and we don't have the other 2, so
I'm
I would,
asking the board.
okay.
You.
He asked me, Kathy, I got to reconsider that CIC board, something that the CIC board meet and, revisit this, the purpose. What's the purpose? Is it beneficial?
Right.
For the township? Is cost effective?
And just,
All these factors we need to discuss and make a decision.
right. And just last year, we spent $7,307.03
Yes.
on unnecessary expenses for the CIC.
Yes.
Okay, Dan, your opinion?
I think if you're going to operate an organization, there is going to be expenses involved with operating it. I would step back and say there are 5 of the 7 board members in here, so we do have a quorum. I would be happy to discuss, put that on the next CIC agenda. I don't know, I don't want to be having a CIC meeting right now with 2 of the members not in the room, so.
I'm asking you
Talking about
specifically.
CIC policy,
What would be the difference
my
if I
answer
said
was,
one
I
thing
said
and
I'd be happy to put it on the next CIC agenda to discuss it. When all
You're
7,
over-paranoid.
when all 7, yeah, and the next thing that happens is somebody files a complaint against us. I think trying to abide by the law is not being overly paranoid.
Well, then
So,
you need to heed that when you do all your decision-making on the telephone.
I
You
would,
might worry about
I'm going to address
avoiding
that during my trustee report.
And also, one other statement, that in the CIC meeting tonight, Dan, you read a statement kind of scolding Stephanie for her action, and I brought up some information on the CIC, and I provided copies, and you provided nobody with a copy of what you were going to say, and I think blindsiding a fellow board member is a lack of respect. Thank you.
I think calling somebody boy and referring to an adult as a boy is a lot more disrespect. And I'm not going to let one of our employees be called boy in the middle of a meeting. So, go ahead, Roger.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much for your comments, suggestions. Stephanie, right, please.
What do we have, just out of curiosity?
Hello, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie.
What's his last name?
Yeah, Fred. I'll help you out when we get there. You're good.
Why all the changes?
As far as the
Be
structure
more
of the meeting.
specific,
The Transparency Initiative.
because you guys asked for it. Quite frankly, because the residents asked for more transparency, we give you more transparency.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah. Overall, I think so. Yes, it's like the policy manual. It's a living, breathing thing. It's always changing, and yeah, ultimately, I think transparency is a good
So
thing.
all the residents who have petty little issues and come here with nothing better than to do, we made a difference?
I don't think so. People coming with the petty issues, they're the valid concerns. You know, each citizens coming and address the board, they're valid concerns.
Thank you.
They're concerned about the township, you know, like taking the time to come here, like I said earlier, in this weather. But we are here to listen.
Perfect.
And
I'm glad that.
yeah, and like I said many times during the meeting today, make this meeting a meaningful meeting, not just come to talk and walk away. And there has to be some response to this. That's what the change that I recommended. And
I support it, Raj. I mean, I guess one man's petty is another man's treasure, if that's a saying, maybe not. But there's always room for improvement. So, yeah, why not?
Go ahead.
I'm pleased that changes are occurring and that the community has been heard and that the administration and the board are doing things to appease, if you want to use that word, a few select people who come diligently to every meeting and express their opinions and feelings. I'd like to know how the board is going to handle Resolution 2918. The resolution approving loan agreement to the Colerain Township, Hamilton County Community Improvement Corporation for the sum of $530,000. This resolution was signed on June 26, 2018, and will expire on February 28, 2019. The money has yet to be transferred into the CIC, but yet it's going to be due back to the township in less than 2 weeks. How will this board handle that?
What's that number again, Stephanie?
Resolution 2918.
Do you know what page that's on by chance? Or is it?
It's from June of last year.
June, so it's not.
So it's going to expire in 2 weeks, but it hasn't even transpired yet.
Jeff, you want to address
Yeah,
it?
sure. We've been working on the Duke project for a very long time. These projects are really complex and take a long time, and so it'll need longer than February 28th.
Okay, so will there be an amendment to this original resolution?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And unfortunately, in one of the recent audits, this was something that the state had pointed out to the previous board, lack of oversight in repaying a loan in an appropriate amount of time. It was a fault that they found that that was not repaid in the due amount of time. So I just want to make sure, just those little things like $530,000 get taken care of. And I'm so glad that Mr. Mills brought up the Duke project. Have we ever had anyone from Duke come to any of our meetings or anything like that to keep the residents informed of
About this specific project? Yeah, we've had representatives here from Duke before, but not, I don't believe, in regards to this specific project.
It's not ready yet.
Yeah.
So what happens is the township negotiates with, in this instance, the township and the CIC are negotiating with Duke to put together a project that is fundable and that works on paper. And as soon as it gets done, then there will be lots more. So I would just counsel patience.
Patience, okay. Does the township still own the center that is on Colerain Avenue next to the Fireside Hotel? I think it's the community.
The police officer?
Yes.
Yep.
We still own that, okay. And then the Fireside, I guess they still own that too, which is one of the intricate parts that we're waiting for to transpire before the Duke project goes full steam
I think we
ahead.
talked about this last time. There's this really wonderful website called the Hamilton County Auditors site, and from that site you can type in an address and find out right now on your phone who owns what property as of like this very second. It's a great resource.
Sometimes there is a delay on updating it, though. I'll say that.
Mr. Unger, if I may ask you, did you contact Highland Insurance Company, which is the provider?
I contacted our administrator to see if it was okay to call them to answer your information request. I did send you, I gave you
I'm just asking you a question.
yes, I did. I contacted
Great,
our
okay.
administrator. He said, go ahead and contact
At
him.
this time, is the property, which is known as the Fireside Motel, is there a policy for our township? Are we insured on that property?
We don't, but yes, Ms. Wright, it's frustrating because I've answered this question for you 30 times, and the answer's always been the same.
So it's insured right now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate your comments.
You want help with that one?
Laura?
Laura, who has the best handwriting of anyone so far. You win that award. I could read that forward and backwards. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. How are you this evening?
Good,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Good. The reason I wanted to come up today, first of all, was to make you all aware we have a Greater Northbrook Community meeting on March 18th at 7 p.m. at Southland Baptist Church. And we would like to open that up to the entire community of Colerain to come and visit and see what it is that we're doing.
So not just
and planning.
Northbrook Friends, the whole, that's
Yes.
a change, correct? I'm not,
It is a change,
Can we put then a website announcement on the website, in the meeting, about the meeting?
we have seen other people from other small areas in Colerain being interested in what we're doing.
Good.
And so we want to invite everybody
Sure.
in hopes that we can continue to grow our community back to we are Colerain and not just we are Northbrook.
Definitely. Agree, totally.
Yes.
I like your outlook.
So the next thing is that I wanted to talk about quickly is the chicanes. We've talked about that. We did the study. The study was done and completed. I thought it was steering towards very positive results towards getting some chicanes in the neighborhood, especially on Lower Linda. And that was, I think we removed that in October, and we just haven't gotten any further information on the status of it. There were 2 accidents hitting the same telephone pole, I understand, on Lower Linda there.
A little bit further
where
down, but yes.
I'm sorry?
A little bit further down, but yeah, I know
Yes.
exactly where.
That, could have been prevented. I don't know what the, reports were from those accidents, but I heard you say at the beginning of the meeting, Raj, that you want to have safety first, and in the new rules, policies, I now see a new area that addresses chicanes and when we can do them and when we can't, and I'm certainly hoping and praying that in certain circumstances where they fit and are needed, that we are still planning to move forward with that process.
I'll take you a step further on your safety suggestions. For the longest of time, our residents have been speed humps, speed bumps, speed humps, speed bumps. They've been wanting, asking, and for years, our staff has been no, 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 no. I'm willing to give it a shot, just like we gave the chicanes a shot, and go from there. So at some point, if the residents overwhelmingly want something, try it, and if it fails, well, then you tried. Particularly, I would be okay with, and I'll talk to Kevin more about this, portable speed bumps, not speed humps, because those are the wide ones, right? The problem is, as I think Dan has said before, when you drill into the ground, then water gets in there, then it expands, then you got to redo the road and mess up the road, and it's bad on our plows have to know they're there, otherwise we destroy our plows. It cuts down on our response time, for fire and EMS. So there's definitely some real drawbacks, but I think staff did a wonderful job with the chicane, just trying to bring that. Nobody even knew what that word meant prior to them bringing it to us. Just like, most people here, the first time you ever went and saw a roundabout, you thought it was the dumbest thing ever. Well, as it turns out, there are areas where roundabouts are a good idea. Not in Stone Creek, but there are areas where roundabouts
I don't like
are
them either.
low blow. Sorry, there are areas where roundabouts are good. There are areas where chicanes are good, and I'm certain there's areas where speed humps and speed bumps are good too. So continuing with Raj's safety suggestions and with staff's recommendations, I would love to start another study, not just with chicanes, but this time speed humps and speed bumps. So I know our police and fire are hating me saying that right now, but
I think the new policy rules out any kind of speed bumps.
well, give the people what they want, right?
I think.
It's worth a study. At the very least, it's worth a study.
What is it?
We'll sit down with the chief, Danny.
4.7 of the new policy and procedure book. Colerain Township traffic calming device policy.
Yeah, grab some white out. Especially on the laptop, right?
So do we have any update, is my real question, on the chicanes as far as?
I personally don't.
Yeah, the chief, so I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but every quarter our police department goes out and canvasses a neighborhood to interact on a one-on-one basis with our residents and ask them a question that's, of interest to that neighborhood. This most recent one was, I don't know, November or so, and they went out and knocked on all the doors right around where we did that chicane test, and it was like 50-50. You either loved it or you didn't, and so so there wasn't an overwhelming consensus in that tight area where we did the test. I'll tell you, we've gotten a lot of attention regionally for being innovative and trying something new. A lot of people are asking us, like, how did it turn out? I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to what do the trustees want to do? What does the neighborhood want to do? I think
take that chance.
So that's how it's going to work. I personally think it was really neat.
I do too.
I think that it changes it was effective. It was absolutely demonstrated
Definitely
to be
the
effective.
results showed that.
The results showed that, and I think that it's a really cool thing. So I'm with you, but the question is, other people aren't, and so we need to figure out.
Majority of people that are against things like this are just against change in general.
The thing is too is the cost involved, and where are we going to get the money for this, and so on and so forth. Sure. And I know the budgets, you all start talking about that, but we need to make a decision. Are we moving forward or we're not?
We can make the same argument with sidewalks. We have the money. It's in a fund. It's been there for a while now. A very simple thing. I think 95 or 97% of Colerain was in favor of it. No one in this room would tell me that walking in the street is safer than walking on a sidewalk. It just isn't. But yet we still meet resistance. So it's unfortunate sometimes. I think the easiest things are the hardest things are the easiest. But when you've got 97% of people in favor of something and you can't get it done, that's scary. You know what I mean? That's scary that there are people that actually oppose, a sidewalk that isn't going to cost them anything. That's scary. So in the chicane, there's real feedback on that. I mean, or real negatives. The cost is one of them. Not as many people are on board. That's one of them. So, yeah. It's you can lead a horse to water, can't make it drink. I think that's the.
Go ahead, Larry.
When we'll have a decision.
Well, I don't know. Larry? Can we vote on it right now? Do we need to change the budget first? Because I'm sure the money's not allocated.
Something we'll talk with the chief, and we got 3 chiefs here, actually, fire chief and the police chief, and also public works director.
It's just important for the safety of
they need to work together
community,
on this.
and that's probably the only street that there's quite a few cut throughs that happens on, Niagara and so on and so forth, but the streets aren't wide enough.
Yeah.
We determined that.
Yeah.
But that's one of them that we can make a difference on. I think it will make a huge difference.
Sure.
I think your persistence is making a difference, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I have one more thing. And that is the issue of litter in our community. We've talked about beautification. We've talked about doing this and that. Every store that you can see in Colerain Township for the next 300-400 feet away from that store is litter. And you can see it worse right now because we've had all the snow and it's all melted and it's all sitting there. But somehow, some way, we've got to get a hold on that. And I thank you, Raj, for bringing up the county several different times to clean up specific areas. But around the speedways, around the Maristops, around the drive-throughs, it's just horrible.
Not to be a pain, but you can call 385-code or use the online CSR, just like you would anyone else to try to hold them accountable. But
you mean the store?
Yeah, you can certainly call this. No, a lot of times, for example, I've had some issues with Home Depot. Every time I've called them, the manager, Johnny on the spot, It's been wonderful to deal with. So sometimes it just takes that little extra call, that little extra, going in and meeting and putting a face-to-face connection, and you'd be surprised what you can get done. Of course, that's difficult to do when you've got thousands of businesses in Colerain. There's just not enough hours in the day to have that one-on-one contact. But some of the serial offenders, I think just going the extra mile is a good start.
Laura, I'll talk to the probation department again, because it's been a bad weather. When the weather gets a little better, I know it's very bad after the snow all melted. You see all this trash there. I'll send the crew out there. So you call me up. We'll set up.
Or even if we can put some kind of volunteer
Yeah,
groups
email,
to
yeah.
attack some larger properties would be fine too. But it's got to be not just me. It's got to be
Yeah.
Yeah.
a group.
If we
of
can
us
clone you, that'd be nice.
try to attack that situation, because it's all over. And I don't know if we're not addressing littering legal-wise. We used to have the signs up. I don't think that anything works anymore. quite
Signs
honestly.
can put putting a sign like litter,
No
$500 fine, something like that. That might deter.
I only see those at the end of country roads, it seems like. I don't see a lot of those
Put
on.
some of the signs. We are ordinance, right? Throwing trash.
You're not allowed to throw, yeah, you're not allowed to.
We are
litter.
ordinance.
Right.
So township ordinance.
Resolution.
And put a sign so there's something, I'll talk to Calvin.
We'll need a lot more officers for that kind of stuff.
Of course. Let me let me kind of add a little bit more to what you're saying here. So there's always strength in numbers, right? And your group is a perfect example of strength in numbers because of what you've been able to accomplish. I'm going to give a shout out while I'm at it to John Dixon. Just last night, or was it last night and the night before, I get on the internet and I was just disgusted. There's been this mattress near Laverne and Laura Linda. I've been painting one of my rental properties and I drive past it and it drives me insane. And I'm thinking, okay, of course it's already in the CSR. Someone's already entered in the system, but do you want to really sit there and wait for the process to play out, or can we just knock it out? I would give somebody $15 out of my own pocket to come take it, rather than, because that's what Rumpke would charge anyway. And within literally seconds of posting about this mattress online, 2 people volunteered to grab it in the morning, just like that. And it's like, wow, like that's I have no doubt that there's strength in numbers and, just making people feel appreciated. And I hope that John and Brandon offered to do as well. And then there was a bunch of people minutes later and half hour, an hour later that also offered to fix it. But some of these situations like that, sometimes it just takes letting people know, because there's so many people like you that care and are willing to go the extra mile. So I just want everyone that goes the extra mile to feel appreciated. I don't want anyone to ever feel like we don't appreciate going the extra mile, especially you and your group of.
I also know that there was something going on with the beautification, but I haven't heard any more about it, and I would just like to know if that's continuing on.
Jeff, do you have an update on
And
that?
if so,
Definitely.
how we can get more people involved with it.
We'll make a cleanup day, Northbrook cleanup day.
When is the Northbrook Cleanup Day?
April, it's not confirmed with Rumpke yet, but
Okay.
I've
Somebody had
targeted
messaged me
April
earlier
for
about doing one for the rural part of Colerain. I said, that's a great idea. Just take somebody to step up and
organize it.
pick a day, basically, yeah.
We'll do that, Laura. Thank you.
Picks up at the interchanges.
The interchanges, yeah.
on the first
20 years
Saturday of
strong.
every month. They need people.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
talk to
that's-
them. I also talked to Keep Cincinnati Beautiful organizations, how they could help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Now we got Christine Friedberg.
Okay, I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. One, I want to dovetail what Laura said about the beautification. I believe there is a Colerain Association that has been picking up some of the garbage, if I recall, too.
CCA.
They just made a presentation in the last month or two.
And I've been on 120, is it Ronald Reagan Highway from Kenwood, and trust me, from Blue Ash to Galbraith Road, it's trash over there. So it's not a Colerain issue. It's everywhere.
I get it.
Wanted to commend the website. It does look nice. I like to keep my rural area nice and rural. That's my only advice for any vision for Colerain Township, is to kind of keep the rural area nice and pristine. And I was going to address the format tonight, Raj, and I do appreciate you did go to the Township Association meeting. I'm sure you learned a lot. I know several trustees in other areas, and we've had our discussions as to how beneficial it is that, you know, trustees attend these type of programs. I don't like I'll be honest with, I'm willing to give it a try. I understand your process on it, but I do not like the department heads sitting in the back, because in my opinion, you know, I have seen the behavior of some of the department heads when citizens are addressing and the looks on their faces. So now they get to go in the back and probably make faces right now, which I'm not sure. But anyways, that's just my point. I like the other format, but I'm willing to try this. I'm understanding this. And I will send, I will adhere and try to address my issue of employees and conduct and to your email, and I hope to get a response on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Real quick, that concludes our citizens' address, but we had a citizen that asked me a question that didn't speak today. Jeff, maybe you can help me with this. The Wi-Fi password in this building, is that open for the residents as well, or is that just for, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
so if anybody's trying to get on the Wi-Fi right now, the password is 02012019, as in February 1st.
Yeah, raise your hand if you caught that. Okay, let's slowly.
February 1st, 2019.
Sit.
February
You're just showing off.
02012019.
Yes,
Okay?
but March 1st,
Now.
shockingly,
Yes.
it will be 0301.
0301. So next month,
And
it'll be
what-
0301 2019.
And what
April.
channel is this under? Like what?
Guest.
Guest? Okay, so for the resident that was asking me that, if you don't mind messaging me to make sure that went through for you, I won't say who that was. That'd be wonderful. Just to make sure it worked for you, resident that's clearly not typing it into their iPad as we speak.
Next on the agenda, let's move on.
Yes, let's move on. Thank you,
Let's
sorry.
move on, thank you. The administrative reports.
No, trustees report.
No?
Oh, administrative.
No,
report, you're right.
administrative reports.
It's his first day. Let him-
Forgot.
My first day.
Okay. We'll begin our administrative reports.
Throw the
Public
gavel
Safety Departments. Chief Penny, would you like to get us started?
That was good.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple updates we're going to give you on 2018, actually some very good news for the year, the crime stats.
Mike a little bit, there you go.
Yeah, mic up and talk as loud as you can.
It's great.
All right.
We had a 14% reduction in violent crime and a 12% reduction in our property crime. And that's a fantastic reduction, but if you look back to 2016, that changes the numbers to a 25% reduction in violent crime in just 2 years and a 30% reduction in our property crime. 94.7% of our crime is property crime. We watch that pretty closely to see if those numbers change year to year, so if there's any different responses that we need to employ. Our guys answered 117 runs per day average, so they're pretty busy out there. And we had 51,000 citizen contacts, and we had 25 uses of force.
Would you say that?
Thanks for the donuts. Sorry.
51 what? I'm
We
sorry.
had 51,000 citizen contacts
Oh, wow.
and 25 uses of force.
That is
25 out of 51,000, did I hear that correct?
That's a lot.
3,000 arrests. So
Wow.
It's pretty impressive for who we're dealing with.
51,000
We had 9
contacts.
formal complaints, but 5 of those were actually internally driven, which I'm always glad to see, which means we're policing ourselves.
Okay.
Those are times when officers step forward and said, hey, I saw some conduct that I wasn't comfortable with. We'd like you to investigate that. So again, we track that stat to make sure that, that we're continuing to take care of ourselves as well instead of waiting on someone to complain to us. January, we answered 3,746 calls for service, 202 vehicle crashes, and 21 of those had injuries.
Ooh.
31 hit skips, 237 traffic stops that resulted in 145 traffic citations, 7 OVI arrests. We had 211 alarm drops, and 98.3% were false. So we're still battling that demon.
I was wanting you to go a little bit more in depth with that to make sure that we're still.
You said 211 alarm drops and 98% were
98% were
false. So
And to give you a little
8 or 9 of them were good. 10, whatever that math
I think it
is.
would be a 4 or 5. I think we're actually. And when you say good, it just means maybe a door was open, but the alarm actually tripped for what it should have tripped for.
And we still
Each
got.
one of those calls takes 2 police officers to respond, and it's about a 10 to 15 minutes. So you're losing about a half an hour of total patrol time every time we go.
And
to
that
one
was,
of these
this is
calls.
for January
That's
of
just for
19?
January.
And we still have 2 residents helping us with the billing part of that, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chief,
No, you're not helping?
No, we didn't.
Well, where's the discrepancy, if you,
What is that? I checked the other day and we've had entry still in there.
Mark, can you follow up with Kathy after the meeting on that?
yeah, thanks for, you know,
Chief, I had a question, Chief. On the 98% of the false alarm job, this mostly the all business, correct?
It's mostly business, about 60% of business usually.
60% business. Is there any time do we send the letters to the alarm company? The alarm company first call the business owners. Hey, should we send the police there or not? You know.
You're talking about verified response, and we've
To
talked about.
verify, you know, usually the alarm company call. I had that problem. Automatically, the alarm company will send the dispatch. They say, then I told them, don't dispatch the police till you call me first. Call us first.
Some
Make sure.
communities, I think Cincinnati's doing this. They call it verified response, which means that until
Yeah,
they
call
speak-
the business owner first before you call the police.
They speak to you.
Yeah.
That's something I think our board probably should decide on if that's
Send
the
a letter,
model
you know.
they want us to follow.
They eliminate a lot of false alarm police response.
It does help.
did you say, or I don't know, I didn't hear you if you said this, did you say the alarm companies are calling 911 or they're calling
The alarm
321
company
cops?
calls.
The alarm company's called 911, or they'll call the comm center.
We can't get them to switch that? Well,
You can't.
Honestly, I don't want.
because
there's
of
4
the
times every
non-emergency,
single alarm.
okay,
I don't want
okay.
that call here.
I see, that's fair.
We have to be
Okay, I got it.
a little careful with that. But if verified response is a response that the board's interested in, I can look into that and certainly bring that to your attention.
Yeah, I'd like you to look into that, yeah.
59% of our calls we were responded to within 5 minutes, and we made 166 arrests and assigned 30 new cases to our criminal investigative unit.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Mark, I'm aware that you've continued to follow up with Dale's family, and I really appreciate that. And I happen to know they watch these meetings, and I just want them to know we are all thinking about this all the time.
Thank you, and I appreciate everybody's support in this.
Yeah, I got
terrible
a nice, I think you've sent out a lot of thank you letters recently.
Yes, thank you for that.
And this is just, this never goes away, so you know that.
Hopefully that's the last ones we send.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Chief Frank Cook with the Department of Fire and EMS.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
The first item I'd like to report on is the emergency incident activity for the month of January. There were 706 emergency medical-related incidents in the township. 450 of those were advanced life support related, and 166 were basic life support related. There were 145 fire incidents in the township, and there was 16 responses into the contract area of Springfield Township. January was a somewhat busy month for us as far as building fires. There was actually 4 significant fires within the township. On January the 2nd, up in Walden Glen, in the 2300 block of Walden Glen Circle, apartment fire. Actually, there were 4 apartments that actually sustained damage. One apartment, Department of Origin, sustained the heaviest damage. That the fire extended up into the attic, but extraordinary job done by our forces that afternoon. They were able to get on either side of that Department of Origin and actually control that fire. During my 34 or 5 years here, we've suffered some pretty significant fires in that apartment complex, and the guys, men and women, did a absolutely remarkable job in holding that fire to the Department of Origin where they did. January 11th, another building fire, the 2700 block of Washington Avenue up in the President's section. And then on Monday, January the 14th, the 3400 block of Sunbury. You may or you may not recall that during the memorial service for Officer Woods, we had mutual aid companies from surrounding communities backfilling our stations, and they also did a remarkable job in containing that fire. That particular fire, we had one victim that sustained pretty serious injuries from jumping out of the second floor window of that apartment. So, I've sent thank you letters to all our mutual aid companies that supported us on that day. And then finally, on January the 30th, in the 2700 block of Town Terrace, another apartment fire, significant damage to one apartment. So it was a busy month for us as far as building fires. As a result of the fires, our estimated property loss for the month was $306,401. Our average response time for arrival of the first units during the month was 5 minutes and 26 seconds, and the percentage of time that our first unit was on the scene in less than 5 minutes was 72.8% of the time during the month. So
That 5-minute figure you just gave us, is that high or low compared to normal?
it's right. It's in the same ballpark. It stays right in that 5:15, 5:30 marks, which we see. The next item I have for you, I think very often you hear me talk and compliment the talent that we possess in our agency from our employees. During January, Captain Mark Walsh, who provides managerial oversight of our Community Risk Reduction Division, became a certified Ohio Board of Building Standards and Ohio Department of Commerce as a fire protection plans examiner. To date, there are only 8 individuals in the state of Ohio that possess this designation and certification. In order to become a certified individual at this level, one must possess extensive knowledge in areas of the following: fire protection system designs and non-residential fire protection systems, building codes and building designs, and building construction. They must also have 10 years of experience as a skilled tradesperson for the installation of fire protection systems. And when I talk about fire protection systems, I'm talking about automatic sprinkler systems, suppression systems, cooking systems, those types of things. And they're subject to inspection under code adopted for non-residential buildings. Holding this rare certification will allow Captain Walsh to serve the township in a capacity never attained by any of our people within our organization. So we're very fortunate to have a person with these credentials. So I congratulate Captain Walsh for obtaining this professional milestone. And the last thing I have is some comments about Stop the Bleed program. Okay. During the month of January, the department publicly hosted a program titled Stop the Bleed as part of our community injury prevention and risk reduction initiatives for 2019. Stop the Bleed is a national awareness campaign and a call to action. Like CPR, when it was introduced in the mid-1960s as a life-saving measure, Stop the Bleed is intended to cultivate grassroots efforts that encourage firefighters and empowered to help in a bleeding emergency before professional help arrives. The feedback from the course attendees was very excellent. I want to extend a huge thank you to our in-house instructors, Jennifer Plager, Brian McGinn, Bob Relag, and Doug Rolfe for their efforts in providing this training and achieving our mission of providing socially responsible programs to the community. Thank you very much.
Chief, really thank God that you guys put some major fires in our township. So none of our firefighters are bad or anything. That was some remarkable. We continue to pray for them.
Well, thank you.
For safety. It was, we thank God for that. It's amazing work you guys did.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
If I can say, okay, so you do these wonderful canvases for smoke alarms and stuff. Mm-hmm. Can we maybe target some of these larger apartment complexes? Because it sounded like every fire you talked about was a large facility or something, other than Sunbury, that's condos.
2 of the fires were in multifamily, well, 3 of them were, Walden Glen, Sunbury, and Town Terrace. By code, multifamilies are required to have working smoke detectors. Now, whether the landlord or the occupant maintains them, that's a different story. But
have we previously canvassed any of those areas that had these fires? Just out of curiosity.
No, we have not.
Maybe add a couple of those to the list next time. Do you know when your next canvas is?
Yeah, it will be this spring. We'll do one this spring, and then later this fall we'll do
Perfect. Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for that. You guys definitely saved lives with that program, no doubt about it. So thank you for your work on that.
Great program.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Thank you, Chief.
Next, we have Mr. Kevin Schwartzoff, the Director of the Public Services Department.
Thanks, Jeff. I just have a few items tonight. Last weekend, beginning Friday into Saturday, we closed Heritage Park due to some flooding across the road. It's now open back up. We do have some cleanup left to do. We have a lot of debris left on the trail and back in the back of the park. Our disc golf containers get leaves and grasses stuck to them. So as soon as we get the weather where it's not raining, we get back out there and clean that up. The park is open, but we have a lot of cleanup left to do.
It's been pretty wet.
Rural Lights update. Duke still has 3 gas services to finish in the cul-de-sacs. Once that's done, which should be in the next few weeks, then Rack and Ballure will come back out. They still have some minor stormwater work to do, but as soon as the weather gets well enough for them, and they will probably come back early March, but as long as the weather keeps going fine during that time, they'll continue to work. So the Rural Heights project will start up here in the next couple weeks and should continue on. The Acre Gardenia Burnside, it's got to wait for the asphalt plants to open sometime, probably maybe March or early April. All they have left there is the finish coat and a little bit of sidewalk work. We are accepting applications for seasonal maintenance, summer camp counselors, and community center facility attendants. You can get those applications either here at the administration building or at the Public Works building at 4160 Springdale. A little bit about the trucks that we're asking to be purchased tonight. A lot of them are through government services administration bids or higher procurement bids. Things that are under $50,000, we really don't have to put out for a bid, but we use those state contracting prices to purchase our equipment. And I can talk a little more about that when I present my budget items later in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, I sent you a text the other morning about a fire lane sign over on March Terrace.
Yes, I put that in.
Great.
To Public Works.
Thanks.
We haven't been really busy with potholes. We're just using cold mix.
As I said earlier, when it's 0 and you have a bunch of melting snow and then it goes to 60 and then back to 0, I drove up to Dayton today. There's plenty of potholes out on I-75 before you ever get into it's just January and February does more damage to the streets than the other 10 months of the year combined with all the freeze thaw.
When we use cold mix, it just doesn't hold up as well as hot
Right.
mix, but that's what we have right now is cold mix.
And I do drive Jackie's every time I go over Galbraith Road because that's where I get the most communication from is people, not just at this meeting, but that call me about Jackie's and Royal Heights, and I'm sure you share the common passion to get finished back there.
We get a lot of calls, and we will get out there and do what pothole work we can. It's just this time of year, it's hard even to get pothole mix to even stick.
For future reference, when we're working with vendors to do these large projects of roads, I really want them to be as involved with communicating to these neighbors as possible because, I mean, you guys have seen in the short time you've been here, just it's nonstop. People want to know when it's going to, how many times somebody asks you, when's it going to be done, when's it going to be done? And, why can't I be in the circle? Why can't I park here? It's just, the communication has been the one thing that I've not been happy about back there, at least in Jackie's. I think that's something we could all improve on, but specifically from whoever's doing the work, whether it's the same contractor or not.
We post a bi-weekly update. It's been a little slow lately because not much happening.
And I'd remind you that Jackie's is 60 years old, and it's not just paving, it's
a whole thing. Yeah, well, the residents don't understand that, that they're getting a whole new everything.
A lot of different disciplines back there replacing utilities. And
We did start the project back last March. We did hand out letters to every resident, kind of given the schedule. So we have communicated that through a letter handed out to every house. And since then, we've actually come up with additional letters talking about parking on one side of the street. So we have communicated somewhat. It doesn't mean it can't be better, but that letter explained pretty much everything.
It'd be nice is a weekly Facebook update or something for specific to that neighborhood. Send everybody a link to go to that group, and they can get and address their complaints there. That way, you can address all those people at one time, and hopefully, it won't get,
We do that on the website with a bi-weekly report. Doesn't get put on Facebook.
Yeah, I don't know how efficient that's been, to be frank, but just for future reference. I mean, I know this was, like Dan said, this was a big job, but holy moly, the calls are, I mean, we've all answered the same question hundreds of times. There's got to be a more efficient way of doing it, but ultimately they're all going to be happy. And hey, mark my words, right now they're complaining about potholes. Once it's fixed, they'll be complaining about people speeding. So that's just how it works. I have had people call me and say, that you fixed my pothole, now they're speeding. It's like, I was better off with the
There's
potholes.
people back there that are speeding with the street in the condition it's in, coming down Jackie's.
Where they drive.
They don't have driver's licenses, as far as I know. It's just bad. It's really bad back there.
321 cops, Dan.
For those who've complained about it, I can hear you.
Yeah, amen. Loud and clear.
We need to get to it. So
Overall, you did a good job. The public works did a great job this past winter.
Yeah, they were busy.
During this last winter.
Yeah.
Cleaning the street.
Yeah, pass
Thank
along
you.
our gratitude
Thank
to
you.
those guys, for sure.
Thank you, Kevin. And that's exactly where I wanted to start with my administrative report. Our police and fire departments get a lot of much-deserved attention, but the guys in green don't often get as much
Guys in green,
attention.
I like it.
So I do want to take a second. These guys get called out at 2 o'clock in the morning, in the middle of the night, to come drive down narrow roads in
Slippery,
bad conditions,
yeah.
in really, really old rickety trucks, and I'm very grateful. They keep us safe in a very different way in the wintertime and in the summertime, and so I wanted to take a second just to recognize our Public Services Department and thank them. I also wanted to take a second to highlight a really cool project that's coming down the pike right now called the Colerain Stroll Project. The Colerain Stroll Project is it's really a partnership with a lot of different organizations that will result in a new park in Groesbeck, located right behind Struble Elementary, and it solves a lot of problems, and it is really turning into a project that is like a quadruple win for all the stakeholders. Groesbeck will get a new park. There's been a lot of flooding issues this past year, and the flooding issues are getting worse in Colerain Township. And so that's how this project began. We reached out to the Mill Creek Conservation District, Mill Creek Council of Communities, pardon me, and asked them if there were any flood mitigation projects that could be done in Colerain Township, and they identified this one. We reached out to the Northwest Local School District, and I'm telling you, for all that you hear about there being an adversarial relationship with the Northwest Local School District, I don't see that.
I'll second that. I have a great relationship with all of them. I love working with them.
They have been fantastic to work with, and I just don't see a bad relationship at all. And this is a really great example. So Northwest Local School District is willing to donate. Just at their last board meeting, in fact, they approved the donation of at least a conservation easement and maybe even the entire property. And that donation will serve as the local match for a grant that we are applying for through the state of Ohio, which will pay for this whole thing. So it's really cool, and it's great. And it's great to see. It's great to see people come together. And so don't believe the hype. Colerain Township and Northwest Local School District get along just fine, and this is a really good example of that. Finally,
real quick, if you're still on that, can you specifically say where it is? Because I don't think you said Blanchester.
Yeah, sure.
Oakland,
So
Shelton, just so you guys all know.
If you know where Peacock is. Peacock runs into the back of Struble Elementary, and there's a bridge that goes across there. This project is also envisioned to not literally, but figuratively pave the way for a school bus exit there. This project will not be constructing the school bus exit, but it will be taking that into consideration and hopefully allowing for the permitting process to occur. So like I said, it checks so many boxes. It's a real feel-good project. I'm really excited about it. And there's also stormwater prevention and environmental education opportunities for the kids. It's cool. Finally, I really want to put an underline on the work that Jeff showed earlier. We rolled out a new website. There's a new program called OpenGov that gives unprecedented access to the data that we generate and we use in our management of all of our departments. That now you have access to all of that. The budget, you're going to be blown away when you start drilling down into our budget and seeing the granularity that you'll be able to dice and slice, and then you can export it and post it on your favorite Facebook groups and share what a wonderful job the township's doing. The other thing is the Civic Plus, which is a program that has changed the way that we compile and put together our agendas and minutes. And I think that you'll notice that search functions are way easier. If you remember, last year we talked about fire trucks. You can type in fire truck and it'll pull up all the agenda items that had to do with fire trucks. That has never been the case. And that's a huge amount of work, and I think that it was done well, and I think that the folks that Jeff identified deserve that credit, and Jeff does as well, and I just really hope that you all take the time to look at that stuff because it's important, and it's important to us, and I hope it's important to you. It's a big deal, and it's the end of a we've been working on that for about 9 months. I mean, it's a long process, and it was a lot of work, so I hope that you enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying 25 text messages asking what granularity means. It's a word you just used.
Sure, yeah. Let me Google that for you. No, I'm just kidding.
He's just making up words.
It means specific, like tiny. How much detail do you want to show?
That's
fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for that granularity of an explanation. Did I use that correctly? Real quick, just for my other two trustees here, adding new parks, beautification initiative.
Yes.
All those things are wonderful things, but at some point they are going to require more public works employees because we never backfilled some of the positions that were taken away years ago. So at some point, that's something we're going to have to talk about and consider because it's an expense, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. Our public works employees do such a good job that I don't get the complaints I used to get about how bad and trashy our parks are because they do a wonderful job with the little bit that they have and with the few bodies they have. But at some point, we are going to have to get more boots on the ground for them. So just for future reference, it's a bridge we're going to have to cross at some point. So anyway, thank you for your report.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. That's the same thing that I said earlier. In 2018, all the leadership, they developed a strategic plan. I think 2019, we're looking forward, all the strategic plan become an action, and that's what we're going the same direction. And what you mentioned is really follows that pattern of seeing the vision. I appreciate all the work you guys do. On the agenda, we'll move forward. On the trustees' reports, Dane,
Thank you, Raj. The last meeting, we talked about the EPA was going to have a meeting on, was it February 21st? And that was to discuss one aspect of their Rumpke permit. And the EPA has initiated moving that meeting from February 21st to another date, and that way they can include another one of their permits. I went to the last meeting that we had over at the Senior Center, and people were asking questions that weren't part of that hearing. So this way there'll be two, it's my understanding there'll be two permits that can be discussed. So if somebody has a question about the air permit and a question about a different permit, they'll be able to get an answer. And did we get an update on when that date is, Jeff?
Yes, and it was put out on Circle, I believe it's April 3rd, 2nd.
It was a date that...
It was either April 2nd or April 3rd, and it's on our Circle newsletter. Yeah.
I just wanted to formalize that in this meeting. So don't show up on the 21st because the meeting is not that day. I can't wait to see where on the new website, which I anticipate will be working properly in 2 days, not one. But I've always had my cell phone number on there. It's 404-3057. Please call me if you have something for me to look at. I'm getting 2 or 3 calls a week, and I get out and look at everything I possibly can. Last meeting, we had a resident talk about the trees at the Kroger, the new Kroger development. I did follow up on that and look into it, and in fact, before they had a temporary occupancy permit, and our zoning department had told Kroger's well before last month's meeting, we'll let you open. You need to do something about the trees, and there was maybe 1 or 2 other punch list items on there to take care of.
Yes, the street lights, the decorative street lamps.
But that issue had been resolved well before last meeting, so.
Yes, our zoning department made them, is going to require them to switch out 88 trees.
Oh my gosh.
And that was done before the store opened.
It's a big deal.
You can't do that right now because, you can't switch trees out right now because it's cold.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yes.
Right, but anyway, that issue, our meeting was on January 22nd. That issue had been resolved prior to November 13th.
Yes, sir.
So that was just a delay anyway. As far as us talking to Jeff Mills, Jeff's job description is to work for the 3 trustees, and those conversations are legal for us to have with Jeff. I like these 2 guys. I do not talk to them outside of meetings. And
He's not kidding.
that would be the violation.
He won't
as
even
if
look
we
at me.
were- As if we
See?
were, well, there's not much there to work with. Yeah, I did say your hair's good.
I got a
longer.
face your wife could love. I love you.
Whatever, Jeff, Greg, whatever. But anyway, those conversations are legal, and it's up to us to direct our administrator what we would, the things that we'd like to see on the agenda, and those are legal conversations, and I warn anybody who works for a government body that I think you're nuts to work for an elected board. That can change every 2 years, but the fact of the matter is those conversations are legal, and I talk to Jeff when I want, and he is very responsive and answers my calls, and as far as pricing, I would always want to go out and get the best price. Some of the state contract items, we talked about those Ford Explorers last year. I went down to Fuller, and the sticker on them was $8,000 or $9,000 more than we were paying. I think we were in the $27,000 range. And what they have down there on the lot is $9,000, $10,000 more than that. So I expect that our administrators, when they buy bigger ticket items, are out looking. Kathy, I will call you in the next 2 or 3 days to follow up on that, either tomorrow or Friday, what you asked about. As far as the department heads not sitting up here, they are in their offices all week, except unless they're out looking at something. And when you call them or email them at work, they have a lot better access to answer the questions as opposed to having them sit up here and not have those answers in front of them. I appreciate Stephanie's comments about some of the changes here. I too ran on a transparency item, and nobody likes to hear about my last job, but the other place where I was on the board, first school district in the state of Ohio to be on Open Gov. Very first of 636, and that was something I was always very proud of. Thank you all for coming, and to the folks out in Claremont County that lost an officer last week. I would say to any police officer anywhere, please be careful when you go out, and things are pretty crazy out there. I think every other driver is either texting while they're driving, or whatever happens. I don't have any statistic on it, but I would say it's probably past drunken driving as a problem, is inattentive drivers. There's so many gadgets on cars nowadays and on phones. Please wait and don't text and drive, and please be careful around the Duke truck, the Rumpke truck, a police officer, a fire truck. Just slow down and go around them carefully. Thank you, Raj.
Thank you, Dan. You want to go?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my trustee reports are usually very long and broad, the exact opposite of granularity. But yeah, no, this is my whole trustee report. It's going to be a while, guys. Grab some donuts; they're on Debbie. So I want to encourage everyone to keep the tributes coming to our fallen officer. As you can see earlier, we had a beautiful one here. The thoughtfulness and the time and consideration that go into some of these tributes I'm seeing are just absolutely amazing. This particular one, and I'll acknowledge the people that did this in just a second here, is really neat. It's interactive. If you've noticed, most of the stuff in our rotunda area is, there's something to read. There's nothing digital. There's nothing really interactive. This has a QR reader that you can take any phone, you can hold it up to that, and it'll play Dale's Last Call. So I wanted to take a second and acknowledge the people that did this. If you would please stand, Bud and Jackie. And that's Bud and Jackie. I thought that was just really sweet. The family loved it. I showed it to them, and they were playing with it too. So it's really neat. I actually got you spawned a bigger thing here. So with this, someone else had said, well, some of the other stuff out there, why don't we maybe add a QR code to it too. So on your way out, now you have homework. After you just volunteered all your time and did such a wonderful thing, now you've got homework. Maybe in the rotunda, and we thought maybe that was a nice place to hang this. See if there's anything else that maybe we could add a QR code to. So if somebody's waiting to file a police report or whatever they're doing out there, they've got something to interact with. So thank you for that. It was very sincere, very sweet. The family loved it. Everyone loved it. And yeah, please keep the tributes coming. You guys have everyone always blows my mind with how just considerate everyone is. So that concludes my trustee report. Thank you.
That's it?
Oh my gosh! Oh no, you're not!
Seriously?
Well, I bored Dan out of here. You should have made him go next.
Jeff, were you running the clock on him?
142. I was shooting for 143. Dang it.
You broke the record. Your trustee career.
Well, I tried.
Awesome.
Thank you. You guys are too kind.
Awesome. Very good, very good. Where'd Dan go?
Wait till he finds out what happened. He's going to come back and maybe I'll
Wow.
hide when he comes back and just be like, yeah. Let's all hide somewhere. Maybe in executive session.
I'm sorry, we took that in third grade.
Third grade. Hey, here he goes. No, that's not him. What is he? He's like roasting marshmallows in the rotunda. Look at him. He's cleaning the windows. I'm not even kidding. What is he doing? You believe he gets paid for that?
Yeah, okay. That's good. Really changing the meetings.
Yeah, by leaving.
Thank you. My report is.
He has no clue what we said about him while he was gone.
Dan, you missed it.
I expected your thing to go on for 20 minutes.
Did someone text him that?
That is
That's
funny.
funny.
That is funny. That's
Thanks, man.
you missed a great event.
Good. I'll
Can we do it again? It only takes a minute and 43 seconds.
I will watch on Waycross.
Don't blink.
Okay. It's been a great weeks actually about 2 weeks ago. I mentioned earlier, I attended that Ohio Township conference. It's way beyond how I can describe this, how I learned it. The important part of this, I met a lot of trustees from different township. I talked to them how they do this, how they thriving to improve the township. It was amazing to learn. One of the trustee I come across, she's just got elected. Is where close by Findlay, Ohio, and she said they just built a new fire station with the grant money. Right from the beginning, I'm big ambition is I'd like to see Groesbeck Fire Station, a new fire station over there. And then I was talking to her about this. She said, I'll hook you up with this people there, how they wrote the grant, how to get the grant to build a fire station. And this is the thing that I said many times in the trustee meeting. That's one of my goals also, my dream, I would say, the new fire station for the Groesbeck, which is the first Groesbeck fire station, first Colerain fire station, right? Is how many years old, long. Anyway, I'm going to pursue this, and it has been like I mentioned earlier, learn a lot about the public meetings and the records, public records, something that I'll work with Jeff and Heather, how to improve to, work on the public records request, comply with the state law, also address the citizens' concerns. Then another thing also I met with the Westchester trustee, his name is Lee Wong, and as you see that Westchester is really growing big, one of the largest township in the state of Ohio. I also met with Larry, their new administrator also. We talked about this, and also, they're going to sit down, give some of the ideas, how to improve, how to build the economic development, how they did this, all the plan. That's I'm kind of excited about that. I know we are also moving forward Both Jeff's working hard in the new economic development plan and bringing the more the development in the Colerain Township, which is connect me to this this guy. I met him. His name is Wenchel Chiang, and he's the director of Hong Kong Trade Representative for the Midwest. They are looking to invest the business in the Midwest area. He's a very nice guy. I took a picture with him. His office is in Chicago. He invited me to his office to Chicago, talk about some of the developments he can look into Colerain Township. And after I meet him, I'll come up with some ideas and share his ideas with Jeff, both Jeffs. And these are the plans that I have like to see happening in 2019. And we continue to work together. Also, I want to thank so much all the residents here. And if you see any change in today's meeting, I really appreciate your input on this. Thank you. And after that, then we'll move forward to new business. And
Very good.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal. The first item of new business today comes from our Police Department and Chief Mark Denny.
Hello, hello.
My first item is a motion to approve a mutual aid agreement. Recommend adoption of a motion to approve the Hamilton County amended and restated mutual aid agreement between law enforcement agencies. This is the agreement that allows all the law enforcement agencies in Hamilton County to go in and out of their jurisdictions upon our request to help us out when we're busy on other calls or if there's other issues. It gives us legal authority to go and exercise our police powers in those communities, and likewise have them come into Colerain and do that under requests from us when the workload is too busy.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussions? Chief, that's a great agreement. We saw that when our officer Dale Woods died. All the police department came together and support our Colerain Township.
We had 7 or 8 departments working
Yeah,
on Monday.
without them, we could not have survived during this very tragic period. And this is very necessary to be a part of this organization. We collaborate to each other, help each other, make our region a safe place for our residents.
We use it in the large events, obviously, but it's a day-to-day thing. We use it almost every single day. We're Springfield Township or North College Hill will slide over and help us on calls and likewise. So it's a very important document to have.
And we saw that. We saw that this amazing work they did. Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, it's different from the inside looking out, right, than from the outside looking in. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate your enthusiasm on that, Raj. I'm ready to vote if Heather wants to call the roll.
Heather, would you?
Mr. Inskel?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Runger?
Aye.
Second item is a motion to hire a police officer. Recommend adoption of a motion to hire Zach Braun as a probationary police officer. Zach is a 2018 graduate of the Butler Tech Police Academy and attended the Northern Kentucky University where he studied marketing. If approved, Zach's salary would be $53,000. He would serve a 1-year probationary period, and his hiring would be effective on February 13th, 2019.
Are either of these positions backfilling Officer Woods?
They are both. Well, this is not before Officer Woods yet. No, these are 2 open positions that we had.
Okay.
I would motion we would do such a thing.
Yeah.
I second.
Now it's discussion, Greg.
No for
Forgive me.
discussion. Yeah.
Forgive. Thanks for answering my question.
Go ahead. Greg.
He already
Discussion.
answered.
These are not new positions. These are backfilling existing positions.
Okay, any further discussions?
None from I.
Heather, would you please?
Mr. Inskel?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Runger?
Aye.
Next item I'm excited about. Henry Boyd left our employment here about 6 months ago to go to Forest Park and found that things were not always better than sometimes they seem. And when he saw our officers and how we interacted with one another during the funeral of Dale Woods, I think it helped make his decision that this was his home and he wanted to come back. We couldn't be happier to have him back. He's a fantastic officer, a fantastic person, and this is one of those guys that you hated to lose, but
Yeah.
I'm just happy to get him back. So I'm asking the board to adopt a motion to hire Henry Boyd as probationary police officer. Mr. Boyd's been an officer for 4 years and previously served, or was previously employed by the Colerain Police Department after he served for 4 years in the United States Army, where he received 2 Purple Hearts in Afghanistan. Henry is currently employed by Forest Park Police Department until hopefully you say yes, and that will terminate that employment. And his, if approved, he would serve a 1-year probationary period, and his period of salary would be $70,640.93, and this would be effective tomorrow, if approved.
I'll make the motion.
I second it. Any discussions?
This is one of your greatest accomplishments as our police chief. As far as I'm concerned, Henry's that good.
And he does have to start back with a year of probation?
He does, and he's going to also sign an agreement that if he separates employment within 3 years, that he'll pay his cost of his psychological and medical and all those hiring costs back to us.
So you run all those tests all over again because he's been gone for a period
It's
of
been a
time?
shorter period of time, but since, given the fact that he left, I felt it was necessary to have him sign that agreement again before we move forward.
Okay.
I talked to you earlier, Chief, about this hiring this officer. You highly recommended him, and he'll be good for our community.
You're very lucky to get that chance again.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussions?
Not from me.
Heather, would you please get roll call?
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Congrats.
Motion passes.
Next,
Congratulations.
motion to accept a donation. Recommend adoption of a motion to accept a donation from Cynthia Booth, the owner of both of our McDonald's and Colerain, for $1,500. She had us at the restaurant right before Christmas, and she presented the award to us for our police departments. Just recognition and thanks for what we do.
That's awesome. I'll make the motion.
We do such a thing?
I'll offer a second.
Any discussions?
I didn't know that she owned both of those. That's exciting. I'm happy. I really appreciate her going the extra mile. I hope that we can show her proper gratitude, because that's awesome.
She also was at Dale's visitation supplying coffee for everybody, so that wasn't,
Awesome.
that wasn't the end of her
Awesome,
generosity.
awesome.
Thank you, Cynthia Booth. Colerain is open for business.
Lately, we see that a lot of people are donating community. That shows the enthusiasm supporting our police and the fire department.
Shocking how many businesses
Yeah,
on Colerain
it's amazing.
gave anything we needed, and the list is long, but
Good.
we're thanking each one of
Well,
them.
thank you. Thank you, Chief. Heather, would you?
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Recommend adoption of a motion to accept a donation from Moose Lodge Number 2 in the amount of $960, given in appreciation for law enforcement services provided to the community.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions?
Not for mine.
Not from me.
Again, thank you. Just to make a roll
Mr.
call.
Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
My final item is recommend adoption of a motion to accept $100 donation from an anonymous citizen. They left a cash donation at the front window, and just an appreciation for what we do.
Wish they'd leave money in my windows.
Kind of hard to put it on the agenda. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to prove it's there, but we appreciate that, and every bit of it helps.
Thank you, anonymous donor, whoever you are.
Did we motion and
Keep it
second that?
coming. I'll make the motion so we can open this for more discussion.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions? Yeah.
There's
Then
been a
again,
lot of people that have, over the past month, I don't know if it's increased or not, but I always stop in and say hi to whoever's back there, and all the folks that have dropped off anything from food to cookies to, it sounds like somebody left a cash donation, and just it's pretty overwhelming to see the response. I'm sure you're as stunned as I am.
We sent out about 700 thank you letters.
That's
That
awesome.
includes people who have reached out across the country. Almost every state except Hawaii sent something. Still hold out hope they could still send something.
Maybe they're watching.
And we made a commitment early on that we were going to answer each one of them with a personally signed thank you note, because they took the time to reach out when we needed it. So that's a tradition we'll start as well.
I love it.
And I would only ask that those folks that are reaching out, please reach out 6 months from now when it's really needed.
We'll always welcome
Because
someone stopping by, that's for sure.
it drifts away.
Any further discussions? We thank this anonymous donor. Heather, call for.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief
you.
Denny.
Thank you, Chief.
The next new business items come from Chief Cook in the Department of Fire and EMS.
This evening, I've got three items for you to consider, Board. The first one being recommended adoption of a motion to conditionally promote and hire part-time employee firefighter paramedic Christopher Simpson as a full-time employee. This request to promote and hire firefighter paramedic Simpson is to fill the vacancy that will be created by the lateral transfer of firefighter James Bowman to the Community Risk Reduction Division, approved during the January 22nd, 2019 board meeting. In accordance with the collective bargaining agreement, the annual salary for firefighter medic Simpson will be $43,907 in his first full year of employment, and will be contingent upon successful completion of all applicable pre-employment evaluations and procedures. The start date will be effective as soon as possible after Sunday, February 24th, 2019, following compliance of the aforementioned conditions with a one-year probationary period.
I would motion we do such a thing.
Offer second.
Any discussions?
None from I.
I think that's a great thing that we have full-time joining an experienced, they grow up in our department, become a full-time. That was a great, right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Heather?
Mr. Ensco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
The next item is recommend acceptance of a $960 donation. This request authorizing to accept the monetary donation from the Moose Lodge, number 2, 7778 Colerain Avenue, is in appreciation of fire and emergency medical services provided to the community.
I motion that we do such a thing.
I second.
I third.
Discussion, any discussions?
The Moose Lodge, I think it was about a year ago, we went down to their grand opening at their new location. I trust things are going well there. And thank you to them for supporting Colerain Township Fire Department.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I agree. There are great people in the Moose Lodge. I also went there for the openings. Sometimes I go there once in a while.
You always know where the food is, Raj, don't you?
Yeah. So we thank the Moose Lodge for their support, the fire department.
Mr. Ensco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
The last item I have is a request for authorization to purchase from the Vogelpool Fire Equipment of Erlanger, Kentucky, for 187 replacement structural fire helmets and associated accessories at the cost of $46,534. The basis of the replacement firefighting personal protective equipment is twofold. It allows us to stay in compliance with the National Fire Protection Association Standard 1851, which addresses the selection, care, and maintenance of these protective ensembles for structural firefighting. It also provides for us enhanced integrated eye protection for firefighters. And when I mean enhanced integrated, we've been wearing the same helmet for over 30, well, since I came here, so it's in excess of 34 years.
Wow.
We started off with these 6-inch shields that would drop down, and once they're exposed to heat, and they become disformed, you can't see through them. We switched to goggles. The goggles take a lot of manipulation to get them into place, and they too are subject to damage from heat. These new form of eye protection, the eye protection actually goes up inside of the helmet, so it's protected from the elements, and it's a rapid deploy. You just push down on them, and they lock into place. But they're much better than what we've experienced in previous years. So last year we conducted an evaluation of our current helmets and our stock helmets, and during this evaluation we discovered that a lot of our helmets that we had in service were in excess of 10 years old. The standard says that any piece of ensemble, whether it's coat, pants, boots, gloves, helmets, anything in excess of 10 years of the date of manufacture should be retired. So in standing in compliance with the National Fire Protection Association standard is part of the basis for our request.
When you say retired, given to another department, destroyed?
We remove it from service. Now we have some options available to us. There's a program that we could donate the helmets to a mission over in Africa where they're don't have the funding, underprivileged. Over the past several years, fire departments have donated equipment that we can no longer use. I mean, that is one option that we
I mean, if it's
have.
good enough for us today, it should be good enough for someone else tomorrow. There's not a huge gap between today and tomorrow.
Go ahead
but-
and motion that we would approve such a thing so we can open discussion.
Yeah. I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussions? Go ahead.
Any idea what the value of this is? I mean, are we talking, this is a $100 donation, this is a $20,000 donation? Not to be stingy, but I mean,
And stuff, I don't know what,
before we donate that, and I'm all about donating to a good cause.
I'm not saying that, we may have some guys that want to keep their helmets or purchase their helmets as a.
Oh, a souvenir or something. Yeah, okay.
Actually, Chief, when I was in the Rotary Club, and we used to, like a university hospital, Christ Hospital, they had like a dialysis machines. They're getting a new dialysis machines. The old one, it's not really bad. We used to send that Nepal, all these very, poor countries, saved a lot of children to put in the dialysis.
Yeah.
Things like that, those underdeveloped countries, they don't have that money to buy, like dialysis machines. So we collected all these dialysis machines and exported to. And same thing, some other countries don't have, the firefighters have the kind of sophisticated equipments like that.
Yeah,
Still
so that's an option that we certainly have and we'll explore.
Yeah, I'm all about helping out the less fortunate, but I think we owe it to our taxpayers to have an idea of what these are worth,
Absolutely.
just to be on the safe side.
Before anything like that is pursued,
Perfect.
I can assure you that we'll go through the appropriate channels to donate anything.
Thank you, Frank.
Earlier, what did you say? Something about I caught 6-inch heels.
Shields.
Okay. Because I'm thinking Raj is wearing 6-inch heels. I know 6-inch heels. Shields. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Chief, that is a great thing you're doing. Those helmets are all outdated, and this guy is protecting our life and our duty to protect them. Like some of the fires we just went, we saw that. They should have protecting gear.
Changed in design.
Modern,
and technology.
definitely, totally agree, and all about protecting their lives.
Yes.
That's our duty.
Thank you.
Doing this, you did a great job, Chief.
Thank you.
Nothing else from me.
Anything?
Other-
Heather?
Mr. Inscoe?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. Just as a side note, we did go through the process of obtaining competitive bidding from 3 separate vendors, and as a result of our efforts there was about a $9,000 savings
Good.
from the highest bidder to the lowest bidder that met the specifications.
Good.
Thank you, Frank.
Hey, Jeff, real quick, do we need him for anything else, or can he go home?
Nope. They're cycling out as they finish. Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Very good.
Sleep tight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have new business agenda items from Kevin Schwartzoff, our Public Services Director.
Thank you, Jeff. I think I have the most items I've ever brought to the board. So. Probably the last time, too. My first item is a motion to authorize the sale of salt. I recommend approval of a motion to allow Northwest Schools to purchase salt from Colerain Township and to allow the Township Administrator to sign any related documents. Colerain Township currently purchases salt through the ODOT procurement price. This motion will allow Northwest Local School District to purchase salt at the state pricing rate, which is less than the cost on the open market. Attached is a copy of our current contract for Morton Salt. We pay $64.57 per ton, and that's what we will charge the school. The school gets salt from us. They go back to our salt dome. They load their own trucks with our loader, and we have a chart there where they mark down how many tons they've taken. So we've done this in the past.
Basically, the honor system, is that?
It is, and they're good about it. They buy up to 500 tons usually every year.
So just to be clear, this is another partnership with the school board that we love so much.
I would motion that we would do such a thing.
I'll offer a second, and now that it's open for discussion,
Any
Dan, is there
discussions?
something you want to say?
Discussions.
I think it's just another great example of cooperating with the school district to people at home that see a notation on their property tax bill for the school district and then one for the township, and they wonder why we don't cooperate on things. That's a good example of something we cooperate on.
Not to get into the weeds here, but is this the salt that we had purchased too much of a few years back or something along those lines? If I recall correctly, we had some sort of an issue with that.
I don't think we purchased too much, we just didn't need the amount we needed at that time, but we now have our complete.
So we purchased too much.
Well, yeah, so there's the amount, and then there's the time that we'd had to buy it in. And so what
Okay.
we were able to do, we could not accept all of the salt that was purchased a long time ago. And so we were able to stretch that contract out over a couple of years, and we're now taking delivery of the salt that was purchased in 2015. 16.
It's been a while, yeah.
And we've got all the salt now.
Okay.
We had 1,900 tons to come, and we have all that now.
Yeah.
That's all I needed. Thank you.
And we have a nice storage building, maintain it and preserve it in.
Yeah, help yourself.
No. No.
Yeah.
Everyone knows better than that, right? You can't just go up to our salt dome and take some. Okay.
You cannot go up and fill up a coffee can
Was there
from
any
your
other
driveway.
Any other discussions?
Don't fill up a coffee can from your driveway.
Go ahead, McCall.
Mr. Rinsko?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
My second item is a motion to approve the 2019 road paving contract. I recommend adoption of a motion to approve the 2019 road paving project for $1,190,184.02 with R.A. Miller, and to authorize the township administrator to execute all related documents. The township received 7 responses to our request for bids for 2019. Of all the responses, R.A. Miller was the lowest bid, meets all requirements set forth in the construction plans and specifications, and has previously worked successfully in our road paving contracts for the township. The township appropriated $1.250 million for the 2019 road program.
I would motion we would do such a
Offer a
thing.
second.
Is there anybody here from R.A. Miller?
There's not.
Okay. I had discussed this with Jeff, and we do get a lot, that's, your stuff's right out there, Kevin, and that's what we get the most comments on, is when are you gonna get these projects done? I did communicate with Jeff Mills, and we talked about what's their timeline for getting this done, and you either talk to Kevin or talk to the contractor, and they're pretty much good with the April 1st through Labor Day window. Weather to
permit,
be
yeah.
considered,
Right.
and then we talked about, were they comfortable with their bid? I think they were within the bids. The first couple were pretty close.
Yes, the first two.
They were. What did you say the total was?
7,000. Yeah, they were close.
$7,000 apart on a bid that is $1.2 million. That's very, very tight. So at least we know that they and the next contractor are thinking the same thoughts about what this would cost. I've seen them come in closer than that. That is very close for 2 bids. I understand they were comfortable with their bid because I'm not so much a big fan of change orders, but I believe there's a contingency in there that was included in everybody's bid of, was it 160,000 or so? So hopefully we can bring this in on budget, and the weather cooperates, and thank you for doing the research on it. This is a different contractor that has been here in a while.
It's been 6 years since we've used R.A. Miller.
Yeah, it's been a while, and so I'm glad we have contractors. It takes quite a bit of time to put a bid together, and I'm glad that we have a, well, it's not just that, but I'm glad we can look at what each one of them's thinking. I think the high bid on that was
1.4.
was a lot more, and a lot of contractors will bid based on what they anticipate their workload is. So if they're already jammed up with work for the summer, they're probably going to turn in a higher bid, and if they're hungry, like they are in January, you might get a better price. So I think we had good timing on putting this bid out, and so I have no other comments.
How many miles did you say this was?
It's over 1 mile, like 1.6 miles.
8,000 linear feet.
That's about a fair price for one.
You gotta realize when we do our paving projects, we're also doing curb. Curb's more expensive than the actual asphalt.
Yeah.
So to compare our project with a Cape Seal project, they're not apples to apples.
Right, and it can run $40 a foot to tear a curb out, and we've got a lot of lineal feet of curb.
And the whole cul-de-sac thing, almost all our roads end up in cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. We don't have a lot of thoroughfare. Now county roads, on the other hand, there isn't probably a single. Well, there's not many. Put it that way.
Even like Overdale, Overdale's 2,700 feet, it's, almost half a mile. It has a cul-de-sac on one end.
Yeah.
That's great. It's a great improvement for the township. I'm looking forward to see that finished soon.
I think it's worth mentioning that this money is available because of a settlement from Rumpke before all of us got here. So, to a degree, we can thank them for going the extra mile. Truthfully.
In a related topic, you mentioned Overdale. That's one of the places, somebody back there has 6 or 7 cars that they have titled to themselves. They all have current plates, but that's another example of somebody who's reached out to our zoning department with a question and complaint, and something that, actually, they called me also. I went over and looked at it, and I don't exactly know how many cars you're allowed to own, but to anybody who's watching, please be considerate of your neighbors and try not to have 6 or 7 cars blocking. Even if they're licensed, there's other people that live on your street, so think about, limiting the number of cars you park on the street. Have as many as you want, but you do have neighbors that need a place to park also, so.
Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Do we?
We have any further discussion? Go on, Drew.
All right, Mr. Inskill?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
My next item is accept a donation. Recommend adoption of a motion to accept a $100 donation from Ed and Bernice Waltz. Every year, they donate money towards the purchase of dog pickup bags at Heritage Park. This is probably the 6th year in a row.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've been doing this for a long time. I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions?
Thank them greatly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the donations. I take my dog over there, but I take my own bags. Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
I'm just glad you didn't make
Thank
me
you so
explain
much.
what dog pickup bags were this year, because I had to.
Yeah, we've had to explain that. Yeah.
People
I was
don't
there.
do that, yeah. Thank you. That was a great
All right.
great concern.
Mr. Inskill?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Supposed to say woof.
The next item is a motion to accept donations. I recommend adoption of a motion to accept the following donations to support the Mega Lane Replacement Project. Thornton's Incorporated, $500. Atkinson Sting Electric, $1,500. United Dairy Farmers, $1,000. ASME Local 3553, $250. Jarnarg Jurgensen, $300. And Robert and Barbara Plate, $50. This money will be used towards the replacement of Mega Lane Playground.
I'll make the motion.
A second. Any discussions?
Yeah, are we actively seeking donations? Are we allowed to have an employee going business to business to seek them? Because I feel like in the past we did, but I don't recall how that played out. Can anyone refresh me?
Went door to door. We have done almost most of this through emails and letters. Like United Dairy Farmers, I just sent that to their corporate office, and they gave us $1,000. It's not normal. In Thornton's the same thing. We only have one Thornton's gas station, I believe, and I sent them a letter to their corporate, and they gave us $500.
Bang for your buck. You think it's worth it to try to do a massive mailing or a massive?
We're talking about doing some sort of, I'm not going to call it PayPal, but some sort of online.
GoFundMe type thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And the status of that project is it hasn't been put out to bid yet.
It's not been put out for bid. We're going to go out for qualifications from various playground contractors or playground manufacturers. Out of that request for qualifications, we'll get a short list of who we think probably are the most qualified, and then we'll ask for proposals. And out of those proposals, then we'll select our actual contractor.
And it seems like that has generated a lot of interest with that project, but to be clear, it hasn't been put out to bid yet.
It has not.
We're
Okay.
still raising money to support
Right.
it. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going around about that, and it has not been put out to bid yet.
It's a good time to say Kevin has done an incredible job of raising that money. We've gotten a grant from NatureWorks, and we've gotten a grant from OPRA, the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association. So, and all of these private individuals and companies.
Do we have to have X amount of dollars raised by a certain date? No.
Our goal was 50,000, but I don't think there's an end line to that. We could maybe not reach that goal. Hopefully, we surpass it.
Yeah.
But
How much you have?
We appropriated the money in the budget to do the playground.
So how much do we have so far, the donations?
I think we have a little over 20,000. I've got a couple that I've talked to that I think are going to do significant amounts. I don't know what those amounts are yet.
If there's anything we can do to pass along our gratitude, it really does mean a lot. It really does.
Okay, we thank all these donors giving for the park. Okay. Heather?
Mr. Inskill?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
My next item is a motion authorizing the purchase of capital equipment. I recommend the board approve a motion to purchase the following items that were included in the 2019 capital budget. X-Mark zero turn mower at $9,399, that's a replacement. A John Deere 4x4 Gator, $12,675.35, that is a replacement. International truck with swap loader, $186,428, that is a replacement. A Ford F-250 4x4 truck, $36,523.50, replacement. A Ford F-150 4x4 truck, $33,509.50. That is a new piece of equipment. Ron infield groomer, which we use in our ball fields, $3,050. That is a replacement. A Winston equipment trailer, $9,564 is a replacement. And a Tommy gate lift gate is $4,350, and that is also a new equipment attached to one of our existing trucks. The international trucks with the swap loaders kind of generated some interest tonight because of the cost. That's one of our snowplow trucks with the plow and the salt spreader. But also this swap loader, what that will allow us to do is next year, rather than buy a new truck, we can actually swap out a dump bed for a lift or a flatbed or a dumpster. Actually can add attachments to it. So in the future, that truck can be used for multiple uses. Normally, one of our salt trucks is used during wintertime. Starting next year, this truck will be able to use year-round. And we're hoping to buy next year is probably a lift that we can trim trees with. We can put up holiday decorations. It'll have a lot of uses. That made the cost a little bit more than normal. But in the long run, it's going to be more useful to us, and also it'll allow us to do a lot more things during the year. It'll be used 12 months out of the year as opposed to 4. And most of these, all these are either state procurement prices or GSA pricing, which is state bid contracts or U.S. government contracts.
It's also important to underline that we did a pretty intensive capital budgeting process last year as part of our budget. This has all been budgeted for and is included in the temporary appropriations that were approved in December. And it is actually, it comes in below the appropriated amount.
How much less?
About $3,000.
Oh, we can put that toward lighting for our beautification initiative.
I would motion we do such a thing.
I second it. Any discussions?
I did, go on, we'll do that. I've got a question on the next one.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, it's for the next item, so.
Okay, good. Like Jeff said, it's good. This fund is already appropriated. Okay, it's not something new money. It's already appropriate fund, which we need for a public works. Heather, if you no further discussion, call.
And real quick, I've gotten a few messages tonight from people saying that the audio's been messed up on Waycross because of the shuffling of papers. And I mean, I can hear it. I know I already scolded you. Raj's paper was literally on his mic. Not to throw you under the bus, Raj. But everyone's shuffling papers. Just FYI, it's messing up the audio to our viewers at home. So, sorry, viewers at home. Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
My final item is a motion to accept the 2018 Township mileage certification. I recommend the board accept and sign the 2018 Township System mileage certification. The signed form is submitted to ODOT per Ohio Revised Code, Section 4501.04. The form is prepared by the county engineer and reflects all changes to the total mileage for Colerain Township at the end of 2018. The total miles of certified roads was 114.08.
Make a motion?
And I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussions?
No.
Good.
All right.
Good. All right.
I do have this form that I will need your signature on before you leave tonight.
Good.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Have a good night, Kevin.
Oh, thank you. I thought Dan had a question.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, our question is how fast it's going to take you, or how long is it going to take you to get home? How fast can your car go from here? Take some donuts while you're at it.
3 signatures or 1?
3.
Okay.
Needs,
Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm looking at this letter from the county engineer. It does require 3 signatures.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't lose that.
Very good.
Well, next planning, zoning,
The
yeah.
next item on the agenda is
You have to
a
sign
planning
it
zoning
sometimes.
item. However, it was to be a request for a public hearing for a major modification to a preliminary development plan. And that applicant, sorry. Thank you. I Thanks for opening the door there and reminding me. That applicant has withdrawn their application and intends to resubmit after making modifications. So my recommendation would be to not take any action on the next item.
Good.
Then the following item is a resolution adopting a purchasing card policy. The staff recommendation is to approve a resolution to adopt a purchasing card policy. This is kind of great because it was the first time that we had used our financial advisory committee to review financial policies. I have to say I was very impressed with the level of detail and caring. They dove deep into this and asked a lot of great questions. Worked very closely with Jeff Weckbach and came up with a purchasing card policy that we believe is consistent with changes to state law. So the Colerain Township Financial Advisory Committee reviewed and provide guidance on fiscal policies for the township, and so on December 18th they met and looked at the purchasing card policy. It's slightly different from past purchasing card or credit card policies. The state of Ohio recently adopted changes that affect how municipalities are able to use these types of cards. This policy incorporates those changes. It's important to adopt a P-card policy at this meeting as the current credit card policy for the township expired on February 1st due to a change in state law. In the past, the township utilized credit cards that listed individual employees' names. In order to come into compliance with state law, the township will now utilize purchasing cards that are not tied to individual employees. And I have to mention that there has been one change that was needed to be made since the publication of the agenda on Friday, and that was the removal of the word assistant fire chief from authorized on page 2, number 5. There was in the agenda that was published on Friday, it said assistant fire chief and then listed 2 other assistant fire chiefs. We only have 2 assistant fire chiefs, so we eliminated assistant fire chief from the list of administrative staff that are authorized users. Okay, that was the only change that needed to be made. So the recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving the purchasing card policy.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second it. So do we need to,
Go ahead.
do we need to amend that, or since it was no?
I would say that the resolution is to approve the policy without without 5A under authorized users on the second page of the policy. In your agenda, it's on page 145, and so I would strike A from number 5.
Okay, and we're announcing that to the public. Yes. So.
You're going to attach the actual one to the resolution,
Yes,
right?
yes. So the resolution that you sign will have the updated version. There's no material.
That's fine. Yeah, it's a vacant spot.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we'll make a motion.
I think we already made the motion. Are we on the roll?
Yeah, was there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Any further discussions?
Get your daggers.
All right. I have a couple of comments to make.
Okay.
Actually, this policy is made by House Bill 312 because the state auditor Dave used, they found $1.2 million in the total local government's misuse of credit cards, or stolen credit cards. And then, so it's a great policy to have. And also, the policy, the chapter 504 requires to appoint a compliance officer for this policy. Do we have a compliance officer appointed?
Recall, Jeff?
Emily, wouldn't it?
Emily is a finance director. We also serve. She will serve as a compliance officer.
I believe it's the finance specialist.
Finance specialist, who the compliance officer would be, a title. This according to the law, chapter 504. And trustees must appoint the compliance officer, the part of the law.
And I believe that you would do that through this. I'm just trying to find where in the.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember where it is too, but I know it's Mrs. Hamilton.
Yeah. Just a second. Give me a second to find it.
I was reading through, I saw that finance director and also talks about fiscal officer. The policy doesn't say anything about compliance officer. You see? I read it, I wrote a note on my own.
I'm looking at item 3, it says fiscal office or designee in parentheses.
They asked for the special title.
While you're looking for that, was anyone able to get on our Wi-Fi? Because I still was not able to.
If
No one?
Jeff,
Oh, the,
what we'll do, Jeff,
oh,
we can,
Right,
we
0101.
can look into it and,
Well, we
make
need
sure
to
it's
adopt
happening.
it today.
Huh?
We need to adopt a policy
Make
today.
motion to appoint you to do that?
I'm trying to find it. It's just hard on the spot.
0101
to-
did
to
work
find
for
it,
my
so
Wi-Fi
I'm
friends out
I'm
there.
trying right now to find an answer to your question.
I thought it had it in there.
I know it's in here, I'm just not finding it.
We said
This is fine.
finance specialist rather than director.
Right, and that's what,
But
I'm just trying to find where that is in the
the law
policy.
specially
Yeah.
title that, maybe we can title the finance specialist or director as a compliance
Well,
officer.
it's not the director, it's the finance specialist.
A specialist.
It's under. And put her as the, that was the recommendation of the fact to do that as the compliance officer.
My recommendation would be to vote on this policy and,
It would be Heather or Emily would be the compliance
no,
officer.
it's the finance specialist, and the reason that it was the finance specialist was because of, we don't want too many people having too much control over this. So we're trying to have checks and balances here, and that's why it's the finance specialist. I'm just trying to find where in the policy it says that right now. I remember we had the discussion, it was in there, I don't know where it is right
Would you
now.
like us to move on to other business and give you a chance to look over this?
Maybe if I could ask.
To keep it moving?
Can you look at it now? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we do have to,
Worst case scenario.
I would say vote on it, and then,
Yeah.
we'll appoint it if we can't find it in here, if it got cut in
You
some.
want to go ahead and appoint now as a compliance officer, either Heather or
Nope,
Emily?
the finance specialist was the one that was,
Emily would be?
no, finance specialist is Christina Hamilton.
Christina.
So we have to, because of the order we've done this, since we've already got it on the floor,
Okay,
but we can go ahead and appoint.
Go appoint.
We can vote motion to amend the agenda and then
appoint.
appoint. Okay, so it's on the floor.
Well, it says, I mean, throughout
Yeah.
here, it says the fiscal officer or designee. So,
That's what I saw also on.
Yeah, it says in the policy as a designee, but
so
this specifically that the law requires the title and the trustee need to appoint. Trustees must appoint compliance officer.
Okay, well,
Okay, we can do that now.
if you would like,
Let me read page 146, this one paragraph. It says, number 3, fiscal officer designee. The township fiscal officer or their designee shall have the following responsibilities regarding the use of purchasing cards. Manage the distribution of purchasing cards to authorized users, appointees, employees, or designees, including the establishment of a log documenting purchasing card use. Manage the approval and issuance of purchasing cards in writing upon receipt of such request from a department head. Confirm verification for the intended purpose of purchases. It goes on to have 11 different items here.
and these, just,
I think we don't, we're not using the word compliance officer, but that is exactly what
It
this
says
is.
designee, yeah.
Okay.
What the law requires.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
if you guys have something like, if you find something like that, a great time to do that would be to let us know that you were missing something is,
Christina doesn't have purchasing authority, so she would be fine to do it.
right,
And nor do I, so.
right.
So
The
would we-
recommendation of the FAC was to make the the finance specialist the compliance officer. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
also.
We'll take it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Shall I call the roll?
Okay, and Larry, we need to amend that in our motion?
No, I think you should just vote on this resolution right now.
Okay,
Then we can,
And then if you.
let's go ahead and vote.
go ahead and roll.
Mr. Insco?
That was very granular. Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thank you.
So now, do we need to appoint Christina? Or is that already done?
I think
I can appoint.
I think the fiscal officer can designate
Okay.
Christina Hamilton to be, and I don't think that needs to be done by board action. That can be done by Heather. The only question would be, why don't you do that now? And why don't you designate her to fulfill the responsibilities of the fiscal officer as set forth in the policy, including being the compliance officer? Okay?
Right, this is what the law says, the chapter 404, for limited home rule government, trustees must appoint a compliance officer. This is for the limited home rule government.
Right, I understand that the board has
this-
appointed myself as the compliance officer. However, I'd like to let you know in this open forum that I'm going to be appointing as my designee, the finance specialist.
Yeah, but we need the title.
The resolution appoints the fiscal officer or her designee to fulfill those functions, which she is going to designate Christina Hamilton. And I think she was going to say, add the title of, to act as compliance officer and fulfill the duties set forth in here. Now, somehow I think this got changed slightly.
I think what you've got there, Roger, in Ohio Revised Code 504,
Yeah,
was that updated to be?
this is the past on this.
Right, but that's the past,
the
and
chapter
this
on
law
the
is brand
House
new.
Bill
How
312.
about this? How about you guys have just approved a purchasing card policy? We'll take what you said, Raj, into consideration and do some research and figure out if, what we have to do with the compliance officer, and we will get back to you and figure out where it is in the purchasing card policy. Those are the type of things that in that period between Wednesday and Friday are great things to bring up, because then we can look it up and have an answer for you. It's just hard to do on the fly.
And that said, I'm gonna go with what's on page 146 right now that says
That's exactly right.
fiscal officer or designee of the township fiscal officer has the responsibility for it, so that would be Heather.
Very good.
So that
Okay,
passed.
very good.
Okay,
Next
move
item
forward.
on the agenda is
Pass that down to you to sign. It's on the second page.
is a motion authorizing the purchase of capital equipment. We recommend the approval of a motion to purchase information technology capital equipment and to allow the administrator to sign all necessary documents. Due to an increase in township data volume as well as discontinued support with our current quantum storage appliance, we must upgrade our storage appliance. As it stands, our backups are limited to 1 week within a 2-week retention period due to the very large volume of data that's being stored. The new appliance has almost 4 times as much storage space and will allow us to retain more than a month of full data retentions, a much more comfortable situation. The cost of this item has been included in the temporary appropriations, and the cost is $6,581.
We need the other pages back, please.
I would motion we would do such a thing.
A second. Okay, good.
You're good.
Okay. Any discussions?
None from me.
Any? Go ahead. Go.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
I need that contract back, or that policy back. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Board. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the submission of a Clean Ohio grant for Struble Elementary Park project. This is the stroll project that we talked about earlier. The recommendation is to adopt a resolution to allow the township administrator to submit an application for Clean Ohio funds and to execute any agreements that may be necessary to and relevant to obtaining this financial assistance. The township is looking to partner with Northwest Local School District and the Mill Creek Alliance to submit this application. We're going to be adding Hamilton County to that list too, because the county has a piece of land that they are interested in making a part of this project. The township intends to leverage the land and easement donations as a local match. So what this means is 0 Colerain Township dollars will be spent in the development of a brand new park for the township that also helps to control flooding down there. So, recommendation is to approve the resolution.
I would motion we do such a thing.
A second. Any discussions?
That was gonna be my question, is what local township dollars would we have in it? And your answer is
$0. Yeah,
It's amazing.
Very good.
yeah,
It's also great learning projects for the kids.
absolutely.
Great
Yep.
learning, outdoor
It's a
learning.
win-win.
Yeah, it's a great project. Good job. Good job. Heather, Call vote.
Mr. Ensco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
And
Very
here is
good.
the resolution for your signature.
The next 4 items are on the consent agenda, and you'll recall that there was a point in time last year when you had asked me to just report on all of the contracts that I signed. You'll recall that you had given me authorization to sign contracts less than $10,000, and so in the past I've just said, hey, I signed this contract with so-and-so, this contract with so-and-so. Now what we're doing in an effort to be very, very transparent is we're actually including all of the contracts on a consent agenda so that everybody can see the terms that we're signing. So the first contract that I signed this past month was with the Hamilton County Board of Elections for the lease of township property for elections. I think it's very beneficial to have an election center here at the Township Administration Complex. The next contract was with True Green for turf management in our parks and facilities. You can see the cost associated with turf maintenance in each of the township facilities there. The next contract is with ProAir for preventative maintenance on our SCBA, or self-contained breathing apparatus equipment. These are the tanks that are on firefighters' backs when they run into fires. They need to be maintained, and this contract will provide us with the preventative maintenance to do so. And finally, we heard about this a little bit earlier, is a lighting agreement with Duke Energy. This agreement will install 2 110-watt LED roadway lights on existing poles in front of the driveways of Pleasant Run School. And this is yet another example of the township and school district working together. My understanding is that it was brought to the school district's attention that it was a dark area, and especially for kids that are walking to school, lighting helps in safety. The school district explored the option of running electricity out from their building and putting up lights on their property. But that cost was going to be, if I remember correctly, it was in the $10,000 range. Chris McKee reached out to me and said, Jeff, is there anything that the township can do? And when we talked to Duke Energy and found out that the cost was only going to be $2,600, it became a no-brainer at that, with only $6 a month as the operating cost for the electricity. It just seems like a no-brainer to provide lighting for kids going to school in the morning. And so it was under the $10,000 cap, so I signed the agreement, and that is what you see as the fourth and final contract in the consent agenda. So my recommendation is for the approval of all items on the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion. Jinx.
Go ahead.
Okay, I make the motion then.
I second. Excuse me. Discussions.
Yeah, there's, Cincinnati Public Schools has had 12 to 14 kids get hit out in front of the schools, and granted, that's not Colerain Township, but people need to be aware when they're going past a school, and I realize that this is maybe something the county would pay for or somebody else, but it works out great to the benefit of the people at home that are paying taxes. They would probably rather have one of those entities save the other one quite a bit of money if there's a way to get around that.
It's all of our tax dollars. And, the other piece is, you'll recall there was a resident that spoke about the difference between the expenses and the revenues in our lighting district. So this light would not be associated with any lighting district aside from the township's lighting district. So we would be paying that cost. We're not assessing that cost to any residents, directly.
The township's paying that.
The township is paying that through our general fund. Yeah.
And I would say most of the kids that are benefiting from that are residents of
Oh,
Colerain
for sure, they would have to
Township.
be.
Yeah.
This is something that benefits, I don't know, what's the enrollment at the new school? I don't know. It's more than it was.
A lot. It's twice
And
as much.
so it's benefiting, 700, 800, 900 kids daily.
Yes, sir.
That are Colerain Township residents.
Yep.
Jeff, since it's a great thing, like I said earlier, it's protecting our children. Like a days, like winter time, very dark when they go to school.
Yep.
So they need light. I just wonder, they mentioned to tell Hubbard, since it's on the Pippin Road, the county road, how the county can share that expense?
If I'm not, there was a number of email threads related to Pleasant Run Middle School, and I think that the county was asked to put in a sidewalk, and there was lots of conversation about sidewalk on Pippin and who should be responsible. I haven't had any experience with the county ever putting in a light there, and I want to say that they said no. I have to go back and look at my emails, but that's not something that they typically do.
Okay. Any further discussions? Go ahead, Colin.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Very good. Board, thank you. We've accomplished an awful lot tonight.
Yeah, it's
Thank
been,
you
it's
very
been,
much,
it's been a good meeting.
Next, the item is fiscal office report.
Yes, I have a number of interfund transfers for you. All of these are out of the general fund and into the respective funds. So we have $192,792 into the Parks Fund, $198,220 into the Community Center Fund, $156,396.05 into the Zoning Fund, $306,793 and 74 cents into the Parks Bond Fund, $212,136.50 to the Public Works Building Bond Fund, and $178,400 into the Streetscape Bond Fund. And then this next one is from the Fire Fund, $239,918.02 over to their Special Assessment Fire Bond Fund, 3301. So that does require your action. All of this was in the temporary appropriations and obviously necessary for township operations.
Your motion.
And I'll second it.
Any discussions?
And I don't imagine you would know the answer to this, but it's just a thought on the Public Works Building Bond Fund. How many more years are we paying on that?
I think it's 2021 or 2.
21 or 22, yeah.
So
We're getting really close.
Right, and that's what these monies are for. There's a Parks Bond Fund, the Streetscape Bond Fund. We are paying off debt that the township has by transferring these funds into the respective accounts to pay off the bonds.
Exactly, so yeah.
And I'm guessing we're on time with all those, and we've kept our great credit rating by
Absolutely.
paying all this on time, and that's what this money is for.
Absolutely.
Great. Any further discussions?
Not for mine.
Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
All right.
Motion
And then
passed.
I'd like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll purchase orders and receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Insco?
Any discussion?
None from me.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
All right, that's all I have this evening. Please stay safe and just be careful out there.
And closing remark, I want to congratulate Jeff for he was a speaker for the Midwest. He's gone to Chicago. He got invited as a speaker for the conference. What an honor, our township guy going there speak to things.
And I would point out the conference is paying that.
Oh, the conference paying for this hotel, all the expense. Good luck to you, and
Thanks.
it's a great privilege. Okay, we got any need for the special
No, sir.
executive sessions?
No, sir.
Okay. If that is the case,
Don't do it.
Motion for
oh,
Easy, Raj.
okay.
Take it easy.
Before anybody comes,
I would motion that you motioned. I think you have to motion for that.
I got motion. Okay, any second?
And I'll
Is that
second.
adjournment?
Yeah, I'll second the motion for no citizens address.
No, it's for adjournment.
Adjournment.
Motion for adjournment, and Greg has seconded it.
Yeah. We all second it.
Call me.
All right, Mr. Insco?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Thanks.
Very good. Thanks.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Good night.